We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. I'm Neil Hoover.
I'm Daniel Story.
And today on the show we have comedian David Goolsby with us.
Oh yeah, what's good, y'all?
Hey.
What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. The holidays just happened. How was that for everybody?
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're over.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I'm glad they're over too. I'm hoping that there are going to be better commercials, less redundant commercials.
Yeah.
On TV. Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty chill though. I was really unproductive the entire time. Like I really wish that I would have did more things while I was there, but it was just mostly being intoxicated. You know what I mean? Like just,
well, there's not a lot to do right now.
yeah, just being intoxicated, eating.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, now I'm trying to slow back down the unhealthy eating again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Where
it was
were
good,
you
though.
for Christmas?
I was still here. I was in Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was really just going to my parents' house and my girl's parents' house, and it's just good food all around.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? This interesting thing about this curfew that North Carolina's under right now is like everybody's getting their, like, you got to get your drinks in by 9 basically, and you got to be, everything closes at 10.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, it's like everybody that likes to drink and have a good time, like, they've been forced to go to bed earlier. Because that's what's happening, man. They're not. It's very rare now to be up 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. These people are getting it in at 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
and they're going to bed.
Yeah, because I used to relatively enjoy like drinking, especially like at the club and at like the Idiot Box and stuff like that. Going to the bar afterwards, and now it's just like I almost don't even want to like buy drinks. So I'm like, I'm not going to get to sit here and enjoy it the way
Right,
I
yeah.
want to. I'm
That's
gonna feel
right.
rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
It's not worth it.
yeah,
I agree. It's been interesting.
I think it's funny that they make the gyms follow the curfew because the fast food restaurants don't have to follow the curfew.
yeah,
Neither
But then
gas
the
stations.
gyms are closed, and gyms are always slow at night. I usually train late at night, like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But I can't now because the gym's closed, which is nuts. 'Cause there's never a lot of people in the gym
Yeah.
late at night.
in the first
but
place, yeah,
one of the most important aspects of being healthy and preventing a bad response to COVID is having a strong immune system and a healthy body.
yeah.
And so, I mean, you don't want people to not work out.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even know. Well, see, I use Planet Fitness. I don't know where you go.
Actually, I train there in Golds, but usually Planet Fitness.
Yeah, see, Planet Fitness. Wait, are not all of them are still 24 hours? Because I know some of them they only close for like a couple
They all
hours on
close at 10
Sundays.
now.
Oh, well, the
Yeah.
website lied on my home location.
It's because of the curfew. They normally are, I think they stay open 24/5, and then on Saturdays and Sundays they close early.
Yeah, because I'm trying to like find like a better time to go. Also, because also I would prefer to go like early in the mornings, but that's just not how my life works. You know what I mean? So like when I was in high school, whenever it was like an off season, like I wasn't playing sports or like in band or whatever, I would go to the gym at like later in the day or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Because like you said, like no traffic. You
Yeah.
just do whatever you want to do.
It's nice.
Be as loud as you want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can't be loud in Planet Fitness, but
Yeah. I used to go to the Y. I was a grunter. And then the reason why I stopped going like early in the morning because that was when like all like the elderly people would come in, and all the employees would tell me that I would have to like stop grunting
yeah.
because I was intimidating like the elderly people, and I was just like, I think we're all in the gym and we all understand that this is heavy ass weight that I'm lifting right now, and it requires
They
some
just
sort
meant
of
that you were
noise.
black, so they're afraid of you.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
He's black and he moves that heavy
That
weight
heavy weight.
quick. I was doing deadlifts, bro. I'm super explosive with my hips.
Oh, babe, I think I just saw his dick. Little old white lady, intimidated. It's so much bigger than yours. I thought yours was as big as it got.
At that age, my girl's a CNA, and she tells me like she has to see a lot of old penises.
Oh, that's a rough job.
Damn it.
A lot of old everything. Ugh.
She,
Yeah, a
that
lot
just
of
makes her
old
appreciate
everything.
yours when she gets home.
I hear horror stories about what happens to penises when people get old.
Oh, man.
Like she was talking about some people, it's just like who if you don't take care of yourself, it's like your prostate just swells up and it's literally just a button. Like it's just a button. It's just like
Whoa.
just the tip, and I was like, Jesus! Like and I almost want to ask you, people, like, what did you not do? What
Yeah.
did people tell you to do, and what did you not do?
Right.
This
Yeah.
is good information, actually. I need to know, too. Like,
Yeah, apparently prostate health is like super important, especially as you advance in age because your penis might disappear.
Hey,
Like, it just-
listen. If the commercial on TV or Instagram or whatever said your penis might disappear, if that's the entrance,
Yeah.
if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I think guys would be like, hold on a second, baby, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I need to pay attention to this commercial. What? No. What?
Yeah, we need to have like a universal man New Year's resolution to like keep our penises.
Prostate Awareness Month.
Yes.
Yeah. To be
Yeah.
honest, we need a prostate awareness month. It's like keep your dick big till you die, bro. Your
Yeah,
dick's
yeah.
supposed to be big till you die.
That's crazy, man.
Anti-buttons over here.
Anti-buttons.
No buttons.
No innies.
No Eddies.
No.
Oh, I would
Now,
cry.
how do we
Hey.
go from the gym to dick buttons?
To dick buttons.
Yeah. It started with grunting.
Grunting and then penises. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Penises always come up.
Yeah, this does.
But I like to train at Planet Fitness because it's not like a gym.
Yeah.
I feel like I can go there and just not give it my all, and not feel bad about it.
Have you guys seen
Oh,
the
yeah.
commercials
I used
like
to
with,
train really hard you know,
on
back in the
YouTube
day.
where the guys are like they're in there working out and they're eating the pizza in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
reps? Like, I'm like, what the? And listen, I'm doing well. I've lost a considerable amount of weight. I got a long way to go. But I remember my first or two experience with Planet Fitness, and they offered me like candy when I walked in the door.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, here's some candy." I'm like,
well, they always have the Tootsie Rolls there. And
"Yeah,"
stuff.
and the stuff. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Oh yeah, it's complimentary candy, and we do donuts once a
Good
week, and we
grief.
do pizza nights." And I'm like, "I thought this was a gym."
Yeah. I just like the excessive cardio equipment.
There you go.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
it's just like, because it's like really, even before COVID, you could just be in a corner by yourself on an elliptical or a treadmill and just
Yeah.
really just have your own
Yeah.
your own zone.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I really like that about Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
And then also, like you said, it does make me not really want to go 100% at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Like I'm super cruising at 70% always
Yeah.
at Planet Fitness.
And they got the lunk alarm, man. So if anybody's like, "Oh," you'd be like, I don't want to set the lunk alarm off, man. I'm just going light today." So it's an excuse to just.
You don't want to train too hard.
I don't want to train
Yeah.
too hard. I don't want blisters on my hand. Thank you, Parker.
well, the good thing about Planet Fitness is if you want to go in there and really kill it, you can.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel bad about it. There's not
Yeah.
a bunch of other people making you feel like you're.
See, but also like when I was like 16 or whatever, it was like, oh, you went to Planet Fitness, we roasting you, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you can't lift heavy. And then, but now it's like, I mean, I'm only 23, but I feel the
I was gonna
effects.
say, man.
But I feel the effects of just like contact sports on my body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, so then I even realized I was like, yo, you know what? You don't even have to lift that heavy in the first place.
don't. True.
So it is kind of like,
True.
to an extent, it's almost like the whole lunk alarm system promotes like just a healthier workout habit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not pushing myself because I used to like every day we doing at least 5 sets, and then the last set is always like a 2-rep max.
Yeah.
And that's
hard
No,
on the body.
that's
though.
terrible.
yeah,
yeah.
that's not how.
I've got a lot of injuries and stuff from
Yeah.
training so hard in the past when I was young.
Yeah. And see, I'm cool. I guess the thing I'm fine. If you can't get a workout in at Planet Fitness, then you're doing something wrong. They got plenty
Yeah.
of equipment.
Oh yeah.
Enough equipment.
Yeah,
you can
enough.
work out at your
However, I do like. I think the lunk alarm is not really a problem because I don't throw weights. I think
Yeah, I
you
don't
should
either.
control the weight, right? And if you can't control the weight, you're probably lifting too heavy,
Facts.
right? So, but there are some machines that I like or that I've come to enjoy, or some equipment that Planet Fitness doesn't have, and they don't have it because they don't want that type of lifter.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like that because you can lift on a flat bench, like or and more of these things like. I don't know. I've not seen a Planet Fitness with kettlebells, but maybe they're starting to do them.
They do have some.
Do they? Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
So
They're
as they
really
start to
light,
add,
though.
but I'd like to have some of the things that they're missing, and I know why they don't have them. They run Smith machines instead.
Yeah. I hate Smith machines.
Me too.
Like I just don't. Like I would much rather. I'd rather just be under a bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's something about it. I don't know, like the stabilization muscles. Like I guess, like it's just different. Like I can get on a Smith machine and push, I don't know, 20%.
What's balance for you?
Yeah.
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 I don't know. I just don't feel like it's the same. I'm just. But other than that,
Well,
Planet Fitness has got
from
so
a
much.
liability perspective, they've got a brilliant business model.
Yeah.
That's true.
See, and part of it is it's like I feel like the reason why I like doing free weights is like I like to feel like the
Yeah.
the risk of
That's
it.
because you're 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, just look at all this weight on top of me.
Yeah.
Watch me push
I
this
remember
up.
that feeling.
But I do it even with lighter weight because I'm doing 20 reps on everything, and I'll do
Yeah.
4 or 5 separate exercises,
Same
3
here.
sets each one. So I mean, literally, I've done hundreds of reps, and I think Neil was the one that and I've got a friend named Parker that has this, and our other business partner Matt kind of says the same thing, and Neil basically telling me, it's more about higher rep, lower weight, like trying to build a foundation, and then keeping my heart rate up. And I enjoy it thoroughly, but I still like the weight because even if it's 15 or 20 pounds, your third set at 20, like it feels like 75 pounds, like it's and you got to get through the whole workout. So it's more of an endurance thing for me, and I like that. I want functional muscle.
Yeah, me too. Because also I'm kind of like, I'm not playing sports anymore, so there's really no reason for me to even attempt trying to get my bench press above this number. I'm like, for what reason?
What's the point?
How much is your don't answer this? How much is your girlfriend weigh? That's all you need to be able to press.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And really, when are you doing this? You only need a proportion of her weight.
I mean,
To be
really, to
honest-
be healthy and strong, you should be able to press your own body weight. That's it.
Yeah, because even now I'm starting to lean more towards like body weight exercises and
Yeah.
like using like resistance bands
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that. Also because like, my shoulder is like shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's
also
rough.
I've been trying to figure out like, a better way to tighten this back up. So then it's like I can even
Have you had it looked at?
no.
Yeah. I would, when you can, I'd have an orthopedic surgeon look at it and just see if there's a real issue in there. Maybe you have a bone spur or something that could be fixed.
Yeah, because I know I had something in my foot because I got flat feet, and I guess
I
like
do too.
and it's I guess like as like your foot rolls in, it's like pulling on like a certain tendon right here,
yeah.
and mine like started to tear,
Oh, yeah.
so I had to get like inserts and stuff like that. They had to put a brace on it. I didn't have to get surgery, luckily, because they were saying because I was young,
Yeah.
I guess like my bone was still able to correct itself if I just wore a brace or
Right,
wore inserts and stuff. But yeah, I know I need to get my shoulder checked out. I hate going to doctors.
I had trouble with
Yeah.
my foot years ago, doing like heavy heel raises for calves.
Mm-hmm.
Then I lost my foot, so it doesn't matter. I just cut
That's
it off.
perspective, right? That foot was bothering me.
So you can
anyway.
always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't recommend it.
I almost said a minute ago when you said you have flat feet, I was like, well, a foot. I just didn't. I wasn't quick enough. I was like, well, you have a flat foot, but
That's true. Yeah.
yeah. The other one was
The other one has a pretty nice arch.
yeah.
Do you feel like how do you feel the difference like when you wear shoes and like when you walk?
Yeah.
Like do you like still feel like that difference of
It's,
like
it's all sadness.
it's all
I'm
sadness?
just kidding. It actually feels like it's still there. It's a strange strange effect when you lose a limb. So
Yeah.
you have that phantom limb experience or feeling, and so I still feel the entire foot. Like I can actually think about it, and I can feel like all the different parts of my foot, but it's not there. It's just your brain has all that memory from having a limb, and then when it's gone, the same nerves are still there in your leg. They've just healed at the end of your leg. But then when I see the foot, the prosthetic, it tricks my brain into thinking it's still there, and I can just still feel all the parts of my foot.
So like if you were to like look at the table and like kick it.
Yeah, so
You
like
could-
the nerves are more sensitive in my leg now than they used to be too. So like when this shoe like just barely touches something, I can feel that.
Yeah.
I can feel the pressure. So it helps a lot with coordination. So it's the coordination is still the same. The only issue I have is I don't have an ankle, so it kind of gets in the way sometimes, or it'll get stuck trying to maneuver through furniture or getting in and out of certain vehicles.
How's the foreplay been with your feet? Like you do anything kind of
I'm not a foot fetish guy.
you're not a foot fetish? All right.
But he has like earthbender powers. You ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? Toph, she can like feel all
seen
the
some of it, yeah.
vibrations
Oh yeah.
in the
yeah.
ground, like through
Yeah.
the ground. That's dope. That's a superpower.
Yeah.
So actually,
That's what Elon
Dusty
Musk wants.
recommended it. Oh, yeah. Hey, as soon
To
as they
merge
can,
with machine.
Yeah.
as soon as they can make me into a true cyborg, I'm all for it.
Yeah. It's not far away.
Well, you said, so they've got technology now, and it's mainly for above the knee amputees. They actually screw a rod into the bottom of the bone, but then the rod sticks out of the residual limb. So the people that do that surgery, I think they do it in Germany mostly, they always have an open wound because this metal rod is sticking out of their body. And they can do it with below the knee too, like mine.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it attaches to the tibia. I think it's the tibia in the front. But he read an article recently. What was?
Basically talking about how the technology is there where they're almost able to essentially take essentially what that rod is, but put in something and then grow skin over it.
Ooh.
Like we're close because
are they in the studies now? Or?
Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And so because they can grow skin, right?
Yeah.
So
easily. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're still trying to work it out, but I feel like we're this close. Like, because you can grow the skin. Like he's saying, you can basically rebuild the leg, and so some of the problem becomes how much further do we have to get from you can grow the skin to
we can grow.
Well, we can regrow the nerves, or we can. What does it take to go from where they're at to replacing the leg? I feel like
they're working on that too.
Yeah, I feel like we're really close.
So there are some companies that are some genetic research companies that are studying certain species of salamander that have really incredible regenerative properties, and all life on Earth comes from the same origin, so it's all related. So we all have these same genes that those salamanders have. They're just dormant, so they're trying to figure out how to reactivate those genes in people. So if you are an amputee, they can reactivate that gene, and your DNA holds the code for that leg. So if they could reactivate the gene, then your body would just regrow the limb.
This may sound really weird, but I just had this epiphany. Like, think about you have organ donors, right?
Yeah.
What about when they die? If you could take a limb,
they do that.
Can you just take the leg and say, I'll take the leg?
They do it with the arms.
Yeah. So why can't we do it with the leg?
It doesn't work that great though, but
they need to figure it out.
They do face transplants too.
Good grief, that's like some Marvel supervillain shit.
It looks a little unusual, but I mean it's better than not having a face.
Yeah.
Is it?
Really?
It?
I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah.
To always have a face that don't fit.
Can we for a second to think about it?
What on Men in Black?
What about if it starts to be like what's that word? Like, oh, I think I want his legs, and I'll take his cock. Oh, I want his biceps. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden we start. What if we start?
It's like a salad bar.
Yeah.
I think in the future, like future versions of humans, Homo sapien 2.0 or whatever.
Yeah, Homo sapien.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe 5.0 or something. But I think eventually we'll have the ability to just download our consciousness into different bodies. Like all biological bodies will become avatars, and we can just share them all.
See, I was watching this video because they were talking about the possibility of downloading consciousness, and it's kind of like how do we make that computable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how is consciousness computable?
Well, it's likely it is a computation.
Well, honestly, if you're a guy that wanted to be a girl and you downloaded yourself into a girl's body, are you still a guy?
No, you'd be. Well, I mean, once you're a consciousness, you're just a consciousness.
So you can be a conscious being inside of anything.
Yeah, you just be conscious beings. And
I think we just solved the transition process.
Well, eventually, yeah. But likely when we reach that level, we'll all be one thing anyway.
Yeah.
We may have our own individual personalities that we can maybe have like a firewall between each other, but we'll still all be one thing. So we'll all be sharing the same thoughts and ideas and experiences.
I mean, you can argue that's still a thing very much so now.
Well, yeah.
In the natural, you know what I mean?
I think about that a lot. Like ideas, it's funny. So people, especially like inventors and scientists and stuff, someone will come up with an idea, a brilliant idea, and they'll create something, and then they get all the credit for it. But really, that wasn't just their idea. That was thousands or millions of other human ideas that were
converged.
They used the inspiration from other ideas to come up with it. So none of us have our own ideas.
Yeah.
We're all influenced by everything around us, by our environments, by other people. So really, there are no unique ideas to ourselves. Like, there's not one idea I can have that's just my idea. It's got to have to do with all of my experiences, all the people that I've come in contact with, and that's why a lot of times you see if there's like a breakthrough technology or groundbreaking technology, and someone's about to release it or they just released it, there were probably many other scientists working on the same technologies at the same time. Maybe they weren't even aware of it.
Yeah.
But we're all a collective consciousness. We just
I definitely agree with that. Because even like if I can get into like my weird philosophy,
let's hear
like
it.
of just how I operate my life.
we're all about philosophies.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of like you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich or whatever?
Yeah, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it was like there was something in the book, and it's like I didn't understand that I was actually like living by this, but in the book, like they say, there's only two things that exist, and that's energy and matter.
Yeah.
And you can't destroy it. You can only transfer it or convert it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like and then like being able to tap in like all this energy that's ever existed, between humans, between just life in general on this earth. Yeah. It's the same energy from the dinosaurs to Neanderthals to ancient Egypt. Yeah, it's all just information.
Yeah.
And then, just kind of like that information or whatever, like kind of like, in energy, because energy, in a way, is just information.
It's just information, all of it, yeah.
So it's like, for the fact that this is the same energy, all that information, like if you can, they label it as connecting to the infinite intelligence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where it's just like you can tap into that energy and then create something off of that, like that past information.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been living off of this like principle of like, I take my energy and I convert it into the matter that I want it to manifest in,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, tapping into those, because sometimes I do feel like I'll have ideas. And I'm a very like visual like art person, you know what I'm saying? I went to school for like design and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it is like sometimes I'll feel like I'll have an idea of like a certain art or whatever, but it's like, you know what, that's more so, then I'll do like some research on it, and I'm like, oh, that's very much so like this artist or whatever. And it's like I had this one idea for like a visual art, and it's like my girl's trying to, become a doctor and stuff like that. I'm an entrepreneur, and but it's like I don't, present myself, like if you were to see me on the street, you wouldn't think that I'm somebody that's trying to start a business or someone that's,
I don't. In today's society, we're such a casual society. I never have preconceptions on anyone.
Yeah. Well, I'm black. People preconceive a lot of things about me off of sight. So it's like, because even it's like I had somebody come over. They had brought their girlfriend or whatever, and like the first thing she said was like, "Oh, this is a very white neighborhood," knowing that I'm black. Like she's never met me in person. You know what I mean? So I feel like he was just kind of like, oh, we're going to my black friend's house. and then they pulled up to our neighborhood and realized, oh, there's like a Trader Joe's and like 4 Harris Teeters out here. Oh, this is a very white neighborhood. As if I wasn't, as if like I wasn't supposed to be in this area.
How about this is a very human neighborhood?
Yeah, how about that?
And I'm like, first off, my neighbor's Mexican, bro. Like, I was just like,
weird,
so
man.
I don't understand how you're putting a race on it. So it's like,
Well,
people,
society sort of ingrains that in people. Like the media and even the anti-race stuff is still pushing racial concepts.
Yeah.
When we should be getting past any idea of I mean, why is that important? I just don't understand. Like I understand that terrible things have happened to people because of race, and they still do.
Yeah.
But shouldn't we reach a level, or shouldn't we as humanity be at a level now where we realize that race is a completely arbitrary aspect of humanity? Like it doesn't mean anything. We're all the same species, and we know that now clearly. So why is it still a thing? Like why can't we focus on real issues like poverty and helping everybody have a better life, like reach a higher level of existence?
In my opinion, the constructs of race is a profitable thing.
Oh, for sure.
I agree with
So
that.
it's like, why if the people who hold all the power or whatever who hold the power, if those people are profiting off of the idea of race by selling black this, white this, Latin this, Asian this, then it's just like, why would they want that?
But it's just not just profit. It's control.
Yeah.
It is
and also,
power, like you
you're
said.
dividing people.
That's why I don't like the term power with anything. Because I don't think any human should have power.
I don't know.
over
Kevin
another
Gates has
human,
a song out he just released called "That's Power," and it's pretty good. I'll just throw that in there. I don't know if anybody else has heard of it. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out.
I'm gonna have to listen to it. I'm actually a big Kevin Gates fan.
Hey, it's good. It's good stuff. I've been jamming it for 3 weeks, man. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead. No power.
But yeah, I don't think that any human being should have power over another human being.
I believe that too.
And even like with politicians, a lot of times we say they're in power or they're our leaders, but they're not. They're our representatives.
Yeah,
they're
I like
supposed
that.
to be just an extension of us.
Yeah.
Because we can't all like decide every single thing. We have to say, okay, we're going to elect you to represent our needs and our goals, but you're not our master. You're not our leader. You're a representative of us.
Yeah.
You're a servant of society.
Yeah, and also I feel like the problem is the people that we choose to represent us don't have the same problems that most like the consensus of Americans don't have the same problems as the consensus of congressmen.
Well, they feel like they're better than the population.
Yeah.
They treat the citizens like children, and they're like the parents of the country, but they're not. But a lot of times people that go into politics are very narcissistic and some of them are even sociopathic. So, there's that.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to be I would hate to be in politics.
Yeah.
I'm because even like I don't even like being in the. Ironically, even though I'm a comedian, I didn't do comedy to be famous. I don't want a lot of people to know about me and like not necessarily like on. I don't know. It's like I want to be influential, but I don't want to be important.
Well, I think I understand what you're saying.
You want to make a difference.
I feel it. I feel it too. But it's art though. So it's part of being an artist. You want to express your art to people, and I like for me, like doing stand-up, I really started doing it just to improve my writing, my comedic writing, but actually I started really liking it. Honestly, I almost like doing stand-up more than acting, but
it's great. I mean, you get to act when you do stand-up.
Right, but
you know what I mean?
What I like about it is I can talk about topics that are relevant to society and in modern times that maybe I think are silly, or maybe I don't like the way people are looking at this topic, and I can make light of it or make fun of it. And I can make fun of really serious topics too, so it kind of conveys the message like everything doesn't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
Like we can joke about things, and we're maybe we're going a little bit too far in certain areas and not focusing on the right things.
Yeah.
And but I do feel that when you stand up in front of people, you feel it's not the most comfortable feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
It's fun, and especially if it's going really well, it's a lot of fun because you feel like you're. I've not had many experiences with it, but the few good experiences I've had in my first couple of shows or whatever that went really well, it's like you lock in with this audience, and it's almost like you're experiencing it with them.
Yeah.
They're laughing with like it's a weird
I can't even like not smile thinking about it.
Yeah,
it's such an amazing feeling.
It's like you're linking your brain to other people, and you're all having this fun experience together.
Yeah, and that's why like I was super against Zoom shows, because I was just like not necessarily like against the idea of like being streamed. It was more so it's like I don't want to. I did stand up to be in front of people, to talk to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And it is kind of like in that energy.
Yeah, there's a disconnect
like between everybody in that room is just
right.
It's just different, because it's almost like you walk away with 50 new friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then it's just like after the show, it's like people that I probably would have never talked to will come up to me and like talk to me after a show just because of something I said on stage. And then it's just like, oh, I just learned. And then it could be something where I realize I completely misjudged this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what they thought, and because I have my own preconceived notions of people.
Right, yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, I just got a whole new perspective on life.
Well, we all have a lot more in common with each other
than we
think.
Not. Yeah.
It's just,
and that's nothing that I love about comedy, is that you're like getting a group of people to laugh. It doesn't matter where any of them come from. You literally got a whole room of people to agree on something.
Yeah.
And that's a very rare thing, where you can get a whole consensus of more than, to be honest, 3 people to agree on anything.
Right. Yeah.
And getting 3 people to agree is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Getting two people to agree can be challenging.
For real.
all the people can be tribal too, though, so you have to be careful with that, because when when people get really emotional about something, or they get
This was on display yesterday, by the way.
yes, yeah. I mean, people will jump on board on ideas that they don't even understand, and just lose their minds. And it's like people can shift into a different type of consciousness in these tribal situations, and it can be really dangerous. And it's not productive. I mean,
it's not productive at all. Like, and I will say, I'll be honest, I was very entertained. You know what I mean? Like just in general.
You talking about yesterday or just in general?
In general, but yesterday specifically, I was just, I was entertained. I mean, once like the news, like of the conclusion of things came out this morning, I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of wild. But when it was happening, I was like, this is kind of funny. It was a dude dressed up as a Viking.
I saw that.
I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I was like, we should have wrote that. If that's not a movie, it should have been a movie a long time ago.
Yeah.
Someone stole the podium. I'm like, bro, this is just fantastic.
Yeah.
This is just fun to watch.
You were talking earlier about like these preconceived notions and people judging people before they see them. And I guess I'm street smart, so this is what I do. I don't care what color you are, I am, they are. Like it's irrelevant. I mean, and this is me talking, but for me, it's not something I consider. I'm going to look you in your eyes. I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to treat you just like I treat anybody else. Now, there is a difference, right? I know white people real well, right?
Yeah.
And so I can look at a white person because for me, that's like this, I know it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that motherfucker's a bad guy. Like literally. I mean, like so if I'm making preconceived notions, it's more so about other white people because I'm like, look at that fucker. Like something's wrong with him. Like, I mean, like literally, like that's where I get a red flag. I'm
not saying you shouldn't judge people because
I don't mean to judge him, but like if he's missing 12 teeth and he's got a look, like the look, like have you ever seen the crazy look?
The crazy look.
Like in a certain class of white people, I can pick it out immediately. And I hate to be that. It's not a racist thing. It's just like it's like if I hung around, if I grow up in an environment, I'm going to know that environment, right? And like I know it really well. And those dudes are crazy as fuck. You know what I'm talking about, like that.
Oh yeah.
You know
that 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, that.
They're like looking through your forehead.
Yeah, man. Like
there's always in the face.
Yeah, man. It's here,
but
they're dangerous.
What I'm saying is you should judge people. I mean, we all judge people because that's how we.
I don't think you should judge people solely based on color, but you're saying based on all the factors.
Based on arbitrary things like color or race or stuff like that or culture. I'm saying based on if you're getting a vibe from somebody, your intuition is telling you this person is dangerous. You should listen to that vibe because
you can be respectful and distance yourself.
There's so many subtle cues in just human behavior that we don't even understand yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have intuitions for a reason. It's part of our instinct. If you run into someone and you feel really uncomfortable around this person, or you're feeling danger, you should listen to that.
Well, and mostly like when we're little, all of us when we're little kids, like I'm sure our parents have maybe some parents don't have a cautionary thing with their kids, but most parents are like, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to them, don't go over there, don't do that. I just witnessed all my friends, everybody I know, it was sort of like that with their parents. It's kind of interesting.
I think what's interesting about, I think we should teach our kids to be inquisitive too. Like I've got friends that are Buddhist. I've got friends that are Christians. I got friends that are atheists. I think it's kind of interesting to learn like people's beliefs, their views.
Yeah, 100%.
Like what their thought process is about things, right? I don't have to agree or disagree necessarily, but like, Jeff Schwartz used to say when I was growing up, he used to always say, I can do business with a crook as long as I know they're a crook, right? And for me, it's like, and maybe it's a bad example, but if you know somebody, if you know who they are, you don't necessarily have to believe the same beliefs or do the same things they do. You can still be friends with that person and differ. We don't all have to agree on everything. Actually, I don't want that. When we hire people, actually, we don't look for yes men. We look for people that are, in a positive way, are going to challenge the status quo and break through. Because if all I have is a team of people that believe exactly as I believe and feel exactly as I do, and all they do is say yes to everything that I say, really, we don't have a productive team. Right. And if I start to lead the ship in the wrong direction, I want people if I'm dropping the ball, I want people that are strong enough in themselves, beliefs in themselves, to be able to say respectfully, right? Like, hey, I disagree, and here's why.
Yeah.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I think, I don't know if it's a sign of intelligence, but I feel like there's something that we need to get society to that. Like, we should respect other people enough to listen to their opinion and their views, regardless of whether we agree with them or not. Hey, and I'm here to be convinced. Like, I'm open. Like, there's this guy that does like this table, and he's like, you know, I believe this, changing my mind. I don't like it in such a negative way where what he's really doing is just being defensive to everything. But I would love like an open conversation where we may talk about a topic that and him and I have conversations. We agree about a lot. There's a lot of things that maybe there's certain things that we believe differently, but I'm having an open conversation with him, and I'm open to, you know, maybe the way I'm looking at it's not really the way because, you know, like Jesse was saying, we're brought up by our parents. So in the beginning, we believe what our parents tell us to believe.
Facts.
Yeah.
Right? As we age, hopefully, we step out of that.
Yeah, even for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like even for me, like, you know, I grew up like Baptist or whatever.
Right.
And around like the 8th grade, like when I got like 13, I was kind of on the fence of, you know, where I was, you know, I guess religiously,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it's like I had a lot of friends. Luckily, I grew up in a very diverse school district, so I was able to, you know, I was able to learn a lot about a lot of different, you know, religions and spiritualities, and just like ideas on life in general.
Yeah.
Which I feel like allowed me to make like not necessarily a better decision, but to really figure out what it is I truly believe, you know, it was true for myself. Because also, like, you know, because I am kind of like, I don't think nothing is 100% right, nothing is 100% wrong either.
Right. Yeah.
So it's almost, for me, it's kind of like, you know, I take a little bit from here, I take a little bit from there, and apply it to my life in a way that I feel like benefits me on, you know, a personal level, emotional level, mental level, or whatever, but also allows me to be, you know, an asset or, you know, beneficial for the people around me.
Yes.
And then, and even then, for me, it is kind of more so it's like whatever you need to believe that makes you a better person, do that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if being a Christian makes you be a better person, do that. If being a Muslim makes you a better person, do that. And
100%.
it might be for different reasons why you're one or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always tried to like keep like a very open mind as far as like religion and other like spiritualities and stuff go. And even you realize that most of them are relatively the same.
Yeah.
They just got different names for different things.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when I grew up very religious too, and I wasn't into my adult years too. But I think it's real important to spend time with people from other cultures and other backgrounds. And I'm a curious person, so I've never shied away from people that seem very different from me.
Facts.
Because I want to know about their experience. Why are they the way they are? Why do they believe the way they believe? What made them this person? You know, because we're all products of our environment. And I think if you're more open-minded and you allow yourself to meet a lot of people that are different from yourself, it'll change your perspective.
I agree.
On everything, on humanity, and that's really good. I think more people need to do that. Like, people are afraid to get out of their box or out of their group of familiarity and talk to people that seem mysterious to them or different, and then they'll find that they're not really that different. Maybe they've had a lot of different experiences, but they're basically the same thing. And you know, I do draw the line when it comes to people that are violent or trying to harm other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably a result of something else from their past or their environment. But yeah, as far as religious ideologies and stuff, I mean, I think that was an important construct from the past when people were less connected and you had to create civilizations where people didn't want to just kill each other or steal from each other. You had to have some type of way to create a balance and an order in that society, and I think that's probably what caused religion to begin. But being committed to one religious ideology for me is really difficult because, you know, when I started to study about religions and talk to other people that had their beliefs, you know, you've got 10,000 different religions in the world, and all these people believe that theirs is the right one, and they're very committed to that religion. They have what's the word? They have convictions about those beliefs, just like all the other religions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're like, well, which one's right?
Yeah.
Or is it, what kind of game is this? And then, then I learned that the oldest known religion is like 15,000 years old. It predates Hinduism.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, I mean, wouldn't that be the more accurate religion? Is the first one? But then I just realized that these are just human constructs.
That's right.
Yeah.
It just really probably got to do with the existential idea that we don't really know anything about reality. We don't know what we are. We don't know what any of this is. We don't know if this short little speck of time that we get to experience this or have this conscious experience is it for us.
Yeah.
If you start thinking about that, it can get really existential, and because then you think, well, maybe out of the trillions of years that the universe will exist, I only get 80.
Yeah.
Like I get this tiny little blip in the, not even a blip.
So you're talking about, like, for me, like you were saying, like religion, how did it come to what it is? And I feel like there's a lot of crossover. There's actually a lot of things about a lot of different religions that actually they're trying to accomplish the same goal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you think about that and you go, I feel like what's happening now is they're trying to religion is trying to be replaced by law. So religion is a way that people were encouraged to do the right things for these right reasons, right? These moral reasons, whatever that may be, and what's moral and what's right might vary by geography.
Yeah.
Right? What's
Facts.
acceptable in one country is not in another, but who's to say that was right, right? Well, I think what's going on now is there's the removal of religion when they're replacing that. So a lot of these religious beliefs are actually laws, right?
Yeah.
And now it's the law, right? So now instead of this afterlife of punishment if you live a bad life, and there's various versions of that across whatever religion you're talking about, it's punishment in your life by whatever institution is doing that. So it's really an interesting transition that's taking place.
It's always been kind of like that, though.
Yeah.
It's always been. I mean, the Crusades were.
Yeah. What's up with didn't the Christians go murder like?
The Crusades.
Yeah, didn't they go around and murder like hundreds of
And then
thousands?
the
Each other.
Muslims,
Yeah.
Muslims did the same thing.
Yeah.
in
so-
France.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, after they figured all that out, you had Protestants and Catholics slaying each other, their neighbors in
Yeah.
the streets, just everybody killing everybody. And guess what? That's happened throughout human history.
forever.
Yeah, yeah.
We kind of had a nice,
Yeah.
depending on where you live in the world, a
Yeah.
little bit of a not so much
More
of a struggle
common
here,
in the
but-
West.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've had a reprieve. Who knows?
I think I'm pretty sure the last person burned at the stake was in the 17th century, like
Right.
the 1600s.
So you said something earlier about Viking at the rally at the thing yesterday, right? Whatever that was, and one that gives a bad rep for any of the Norse people out there.
I have to say, just a little bit on the Viking thing. He's called a Viking all over, but that
Norse.
actually is a. It looks a little more like a Plains Indian buffalo headdress,
Oh.
which is a little worse.
That is worse.
But it is a little worse. Like,
I haven't seen it, so that makes
looks
sense.
Like Viking helms are way different.
No,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and they don't have buffalo there.
No, yeah. So like the Norsemen, like the Norse people, like I'm sitting here thinking. So you talk about like all these things that have happened, and some of these things are very controversial in our history, right? But they're still present today.
Yeah.
Like Thursday is Thor's day.
Yeah.
It's a Viking word, right? Like-
Tuesday, Tweesday.
Yeah, and then if you look like Thompson, Tom's son, right? That's a Viking. These are Viking things because they would take the last name would basically become the father's first name and son. So like there's all these things that are still present. And what happened with the Vikings went out to conquer. They went out to survive because their women were dying off and they spread out and that's what they did. But like even this very terrible thing is very present today, and the life that we live, we just don't know. But the life that we live is very much influenced by our past, right? And so we're all experiencing all this stuff, and I think a lot of countries this way, but the United States is truly like this melting pot, and everybody's getting so one side and the other side. But the reality is like we're all a product of all this shit that happened to us. Right, so I'm just ready for. I don't know. I'm ready for.
Yeah, we're all because I feel like kind of we're saying like how like our past, affects our present. Even I was watching this documentary when they were kind of just talking about, it was a documentary, a very black documentary, and they started talking about like hip hop, and kind of how like even when you like the certain like drum patterns and stuff that were like prominent in early hip hop, and how it's like, oh, like a lot of those are like almost exact drum patterns of like ancient tribal,
it's probably
like,
in the DNA,
yeah, and then it's like even like the Gumby haircut, and then they were showing like how like even like hundreds of years ago that same haircut was used in Africa, but like we all thought that like came out in like the 80s
well,
or whatever.
I mean, that may be more of just a likelihood of, because it's similar hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But even I guess even then it's kind of like how I guess
a lot of white dudes that have curly hair have the same haircut I have. You know what I mean? Like, and they have forever, just because we have to do something with our hair, I guess. But.
Yeah, I mean, what like I don't know, what was like our like who was the first human to really just be like, yo, I think I just want to cut all this. Like this is just in the way. This is dirty. It's in the way. I don't like it. Like what was the original function for like?
What you're saying right there is like actually practical use. I know through military and stuff like that with helmets, a lot of soldiers, even back in the hoplite days when you got Greeks and all them, they cut their stuff because in battle you can use someone's hair against them and grab their
That's actually
hair,
what I was going to say.
Mess them up.
My grandfather is. That was what he used to tell me, the stories about not having long. That's why I never had long hair. But I grew a very violent life.
Yeah.
But
y'all was just grabbing hair and fighting.
Yeah, man. They were trying to. Yeah. Have you ever had your hair pulled? Have you ever had it long enough to have it pulled during a fight?
I mean, no one has ever. No one ever tried to grab my hair. Like, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, listen, like the MMA, I just want to see, like in the UFC ring, I want hair pulling to become legal, and the guys with the longer hair to get dragged around the ring by their hair while they're getting the shit beat out of them. Because on some level, they'll start shaving their head. First of all, that's what will happen.
Quickly.
So you're at an extreme disadvantage.
See, and I didn't even think about people like pulling.
Have you seen girls beat each other?
Yeah,
up?
I mean, I've seen that happen to girls, but it's just like I've never thought like as a dude. Like getting my hair pulled in a fight, because I'm like I don't even think about that.
Because usually it's closed.
Like, it's just like, yo, I'm just gonna rock you in the face as hard as I can.
We need to get on YouTube and find some video of this guy with a ponytail. Just like, I'm sure there's one. I don't know of one.
Sure,
but the guy with a ponytail talking shit, guy grabs him by the hair and just dragging him by his hair and hitting him. Like you can't move.
Definitely a weakness.
Yeah. So, but anyway, my grandfather scared me enough when I was younger. I think that was his way. It wouldn't work with a religion, right? There's no law about letting your hair grow out. So I think that was his way to motivate me. He's like, you're going to get your ass kicked. And you're at a disadvantage. So he scared me. He used fear to keep me from letting my hair grow out longer. It worked.
See, my dad just told me if I grew my hair out, I wouldn't get a job. And I was just like,
that was me,
Yeah, and then I grew my hair out. The best jobs I've ever had were with my hair grown out. Yeah. So I'm just like, well, this is a lie.
When did you figure out? When did you figure out your parents lied to you the first time? Like, I think I was like probably like 8, 9, 10, but really knew it for sure that they lied to me about things by like 12 or 13.
They didn't know they were lying though.
That's true.
Pre-internet.
Well, maybe
days.
they thought it was true.
Yeah, they just.
I don't know. I think, and my mom loves me, but I think she lied to me out of love.
Yeah, because it is like the whole like the pre-internet thing. Because even now it's like me and my dad to this day. Like my dad is a firm believer of like you go get a good job with good benefits that you can work at for 20 to 30 years and collect a pension on. That's like that's my dad. But it's like that's how he grew up. Like my dad grew up where it's just like, oh, you can go work at. My dad's been working at the same factory for like 20 something years. So it's like, I mean, but he grew up with that. But even now he's starting to see that go away even at his job. And I'm like, well.
And that didn't last long either. That was a tiny section
very
of human
small.
History.
So I'm kind of like, yo,
5 decades maybe.
Most of human history was entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Was people like, oh, I do this.
Trading, bartering.
And I'm going to sell it or trade for this. And even you even see that coming back with the gig economy. Like it's the exact same thing. And I've been trying to explain to my dad where it's just like, me personally, it's like if I don't have to be tied and fully dependent on somebody else to achieve the same goals that you were able to achieve, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Not that there's anything wrong with getting a job and if you can find a secure job that has those benefits, by all means, bro, why go through the trouble of trying to do this on your own?
Some people just aren't wired to. I can't do it. Like I've been forced to. There was windows of time where I was forced to.
Yeah.
When I say forced to, I had options, right? I had paths to pick, and I needed to get back on my feet. So the easiest way was the job that just over broke, the job.
Yep.
And get in there and fucking outwork, out hustle, outdo everything, and sacrifice to accomplish whatever the number was I needed to accomplish as quickly as possible,
Facts.
and then start over.
Bro,
Right?
I've literally worked maybe cumulatively, maybe a year. I've had an actual job.
Yeah.
The rest of I'm only 23.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like since I've been eligible to work at the age of 16, I've only worked a year. I've only had an employer for a year. Everything else has been just me hustling, doing my own thing.
I'm going to tell
Great,
you
man.
the fact that you say only a year, but check this out. I think from a statistical point of view, that's even more of an anomaly, because if you're stuck in a job, normally it's going to be stuck in a job at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, because you've got to, it's so much harder, I think, to step out at an early age. It's very rare, right? Most people, even if they feel entrepreneurial, they get forced down a path, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I was the same way. Every moment I spent, and listen, I worked my ass off, but I don't know about it. There's something about it. If I'm at a job, if something happens and mentally it fucks me.
Yeah, because even for me, like I was working at a marketing firm, and then when we were like done like doing work or whatever, and you have to in the system say like, oh, I worked on these files for this, blah 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 blah, and then you kind of like breaking down, and it will show you like how much they charge the client, and I'm like, I know I didn't get paid that much
Right.
for the time that I just spent doing that work, yet they're charging this amount of money.
Yeah.
So then it got to a point where it's just like, well, if I don't do it, it don't get done. So if this is what people need, how about I just do it and go directly to the person that needs it, and then I charge what they charge.
Yeah.
Like that was my whole thing, was just
most
like
people don't think that way though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and even like working at I worked at UPS for like 2 months, bro.
You worked at UPS like retail store or at the
At the
hub?
like in the hub.
Yeah, I did too. I did that when I was 17. I did the Twilight, I think 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning. I was
Bruh,
started unloading, then I went to sort.
It
sucked.
I loaded, and then it was kind of like the culture that they try to push in those type of work environments was like, oh, you trying to work a double? Like you almost like working a double and a triple. That's like a point of pride. Like I spent, like there's this one dude. He's younger than me. I did not know he was younger than me because he looked. I'm like, bro, you work a lot. Like, I thought he had like a family, like trying to get kids through school. But this dude was like 2 years younger than me.
Wow.
He was like, yeah, man, I just worked a triple, bro. I slept all of Saturday. I'm like, you slept the entire only day we have off. And then he woke up and it was time to go to work again. I was like, dude. I was just like, and that's for what?
You turned into a machine.
Yeah.
For what? So you can see that. So you can see that single comma on your pay stub.
You know, that's funny.
Pretty much.
That's exactly right.
I was thinking about this the other day, and we've talked about this, how, in society, we all have different roles. Like we don't, nobody really knows what we're doing. I always say we're like the conscious ants of reality.
Yeah.
And, we build technology. That's the main thing we do. And, but we all have different predispositions in our personalities that kind of direct us in certain ways. Like entrepreneurship, I've had those desires to be self-employed since I was a kid. As far as I can remember, I remember being like 6 years old and drawing stuff and then putting a price on it and selling it to family members.
And
that's crazy how I did the same thing.
Yeah, and I started a school like.
See, you guys were the artsy ones.
Yeah. I started a good friend of mine and I, when we were like in fifth grade, maybe fifth grade. We created an office supply business or a school supply business, and we each had shoe boxes, and we filled them with school supplies, and we had receipt books, and we'd go to school and sell all this shit to the other kids at the school, and then meet at the end of the week and tally up our money and split it. And it was a business. And then I started my first real business when I was 22, and I've owned, I don't know, 20 some different companies since then. But and he started his first business at 17 or something.
Yeah, the legitimate business 17.
Yeah.
You guys were doing artsy stuff that you made. I was going and buying porno magazines and selling them by the page. I'd rip out a page, buck a page, boom, 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 boom. Listen, I rocked middle school.
bro.
I rocked. I'm telling you. And when I got to high school, the eighth and ninth grade year transition year, I figured out that you could get free condoms at the health department. Mm-hmm. They'd give me 25 a week, right? 20 or 25 a week, I think I could get. And I went in there like clockwork every week. Boom, free condoms, buck a piece. Boom. So I had my hustles, man. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get this, I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this, and
hustling for me, it was almost like I didn't even understand that that's what I was doing. Because at first it was just like, I just want to do something, and then I know other people sell it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, that's just what you do when you do this. Yeah. So it was almost kind of like I had already associated what I was doing with like, well, now you gotta, sell it. And and what's crazy is like my dad, I don't think my dad really understands how he was like the main driving force for me to become an entrepreneur. Because when I turned 16, I was like, I told my dad I wanted to work because I was like, I want to make money. Yeah. And I think before that it was kind of like, I would do like photo shoots for people, and then like selling like a couple grams on the side. You know what I'm saying? High school shit.
Hey.
Oh wow.
And just a few.
Yeah, what I'm saying? Nothing crazy now. But high school shit.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, nah, like school is your job, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I still like to hang out. I still got to put gas in my car to even get to school. Yep. And also,
and have a little fun.
Yeah, have a little fun. Yeah. And then and it was and I've never been the person to ask my parents for anything. I hate even when it came to like shoes, like to this day I wear shoes with holes in them. Like I had these shoes for like 2 years. They got holes in them.
I'm showing you my ripped pants.
Yeah, these are Goodwill hand-me-downs. I never really cared to ask my parents for anything, especially money. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, well, I know I want money. Not even that I want money to have. I just want money to do things. Yeah. So I was like, well, I got to figure out how to make money, and then eventually just turned to, let me go ahead and. Since my dad won't let me get a job, let me figure out what I can do, either sell at school. So I started making T-shirts. I got like a printing press, like the little. Oh, yeah. And I just started selling T-shirts, stuff like that. Oh, that was making money. Then I started doing YouTube, trying to learn how to like monetize on YouTube, stuff like that. And then even then, I didn't make a lot of money on YouTube. But it was more so like people knew I was good with cameras because of YouTube, which made people want to like get me to take their pictures or do videos for their wedding and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, well, this is just smooth. I don't have to have a job. Everybody else I know has to go to Food Lion for 6 hours on their weekend. And I'm just like, not me. I get to just do what I want to do for 45 minutes. I might have to spend an hour max editing photos. But it's like, bro, I get the rest of my day, the rest of my week to myself to do what I want, and everything's already taken care of. And even just carrying that like into college and even now. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I've always been like, if I can pay my bills, I'm good. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's all I really care about. And even then it's like, I don't hoard money. Like, that's just not, I used to do that. I used to hoard money. And now I'm kind of like, I don't necessarily hoard it. I put it away. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Obviously like, because you got to have some sort of cushion. Right. Yeah. But I'm also just like, if I have a bunch of money, it's like, all right, well, how many months of bills is this? All right, let me put this many months away. And then let me figure out what can I do with the rest of this that is going to make me more money. Yeah. So or just going to allow me to do.
Or help you grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, like just because of that, I never had to rely on a job. I've never thought of money as just something that I get.
But I think for people like us, though, it's not about not having a job. It's not about the money. It's about creating. And I think that's. Have you seen that movie Soul?
No, I've been meaning to watch it.
Really good, man. And that's kind of the point of that movie is we all have a spark. We all have something that's of interest, and that's what drives us, and that's what we have to be doing to be happy. And it's not one specific thing. Like for me, it's just creating in general. Just, if it's business or it's art or something, I have to be creating something. And the money's a nice side effect of that, but it's not about. It's really. I don't think that we can. I don't know that that's a choice. I feel like that's just who I am, and that's one problem I have with society. The way we value our currency, we look at people as liabilities instead of assets. And because some people, like if someone's a really dedicated, committed teacher, they just
They should
love
get
it.
paid.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what they do. That's what
Yeah.
they have to do. They don't have a choice. Like that's it's in their nature. It's in their DNA that they're a teacher, you know, and they're happy doing that. And it's just unfortunate that person has to struggle or can't really experience exceptional things because they choose this. Well, they don't choose because they are a teacher,
Yeah.
you know, or a janitor or whatever they are. And I think that'll change with technology. I think as we advance, I think, you know, maybe cryptocurrencies are a good way to maybe solve some of that issue too. But I think the way we value currency is based on a power structure, and it's designed to empower certain people in society and certain organizations in society. But really, we need to change the way we look at society, because society is not the stuff we value our money on. Society is the people that make up the society.
Yeah, and that's why, like, one of my biggest fears is that everything is going to become privatized. Like, my biggest, because it's like public schools are getting like less.
You don't want it to
funded.
be public, though. I think the privatization of everything is good because it allows us all to own everything as a society. I think when you have, because you don't want socialism, you don't want people to start taking from other people to give to other people, because then that just destroys innovation. What you want to do is you want to have a more valuable currency, so everything is more valuable. So if you have the teaching job, it's just going to pay you way more.
Yeah.
Or there's an ability for us as a society to agree to subsidize certain people's pay under a certain amount of money without taxing the rest of us to death.
Yeah.
We don't have to. None of it's real anyway. It's all a construct.
Yeah, and that's also a thing, like, why I don't necessarily put a value on money. Why, like, I genuinely just see money as a tool. That's just how I see it. Because I'm like, I don't. It is kind of like, at the end of the day, bro, if the entire internet just shut down, I'm like, how much money do any of us really have?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'll destroy the economy.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
You were talking about what you do with your money, and I think, honestly, the number one thing that anybody can do, and I mean, like, you got Dave Ramsey's got advice. Everybody's got advice, right?
Yeah.
I think the best thing that you can do is invest in yourself, in your own education,
100%,
your own.
Yep.
I mean, like, literally, whatever you need to figure out what you're passionate about, and you need to be the best you at that you can be.
Yep.
It's not about other people, but if you take that mentality, because I know photographers that make $50 to $100. I know ones that make $500. I know ones that have a $5,000 minimum, right? Like, there's different levels to everything, and I think if you're going to have something you're passionate about, you should work on perfecting that craft, right?
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you're going to do well. Like, I mean, the people that like Jesse is this is different than, he's got amazing talent, right? And what he's doing here with us is different than what he was doing, but he's improving himself, he's learning, he's figuring out, like so if you're going to do something, as you elevate your position, and then as you learn, you become more valuable. Like, for me, that's the best money you can spend, is either money, time, effort, energy into yourself, right? And I think society probably propagates this thing where they want you to invest or give other people your money to invest. They want you to blindly give things away. I don't like that. I think you should invest in yourself.
Yeah, because also, like, when it comes to like, even like I said, like with photography as an example, it's kind of like, oh, I bought, this software to learn this software, and I bought whatever course to come with it. And then it's like, to be honest, on the back end, I'm going to charge you for me learning that. You know what I mean? So then, like you said, it does increase my value. And
100%.
even like
well, knowledge is value.
Yeah, and that's what and one thing that I try to get myself out of this, but also, like, like my business partner, he's one of those people where it's like, and I feel like it's more so a thing of, like, our generation, whereas, we want that instantaneous, like that instant gratification, or it's like, we're like, oh, I want this, I just want it, I just want to be there, or I want that here.
Right, yeah.
And it's kind of like, do you guys, Pentagram, the design firm? They're like one.
No, I don't. Yeah, I should probably.
Yeah. I mean, they're like a really big, like, design and marketing firm or whatever.
Yeah.
And
'Cause I do a lot of graphic design stuff.
Yeah, and like, that's kind of like, for us, it's kind of like, oh, that's the pinnacle of the design industry.
Right,
you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, he wants, he's ambitious just like me, and he's like, I want to be there. Like, I want to be there, but also I'm like, bro, you have to understand that you know, first off, Pentagram is like a 60-year-old company.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, we're
Really
like, we're
established.
so new.
Yeah.
I was like, we both just graduated college in the last year.
Well, plus companies like that were started before the internet too. So
Yeah.
So they've been able to amass a huge empire.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, I mean, how many more graphic designers and graphic design companies exist today than when they got started?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, then I'm kind of like, we haven't even given ourselves time to find our niche yet.
yeah.
Like, we know what we think we want to do, but it's like we haven't even been doing this long enough to, like, you know, really be like, oh, this is like my vision, this is my philosophy
Right,
on this thing. Like right now, it's just kind of like I was taught to do these things, and like I'm creative enough to have my own interpretations, but it's like we haven't. I mean, we're both 23, so I'm like, I am kind of like, yo, we don't have that. Like, imagine like how much money you spend to like acquire the knowledge and the assets to be a pentagram over 60 years.
Well, also
Yeah.
time.
And it's like just
time
be- yeah.
invested in your
Yeah.
craft. In your
Yeah,
art.
and even like
Yeah.
I guess like he has a day job, I don't, which you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him.
and you know, and he's looking for like you know, something that's more fulfilling as far as, you know, because I guess he still wants that insurance and he doesn't want to pay for insurance.
Well, are you trying to build your graphic design company, or are you trying to focus on comedy, stand-up comedy,
both.
Or both?
Well, right now it's kind of like, you know, comedy is right now kind of just on the back burner because of, you know, just recent
Yeah.
things.
Let's get ready to open back up. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like, yo, I'm about to start doing, like, once the spring and summer hits, because I mean, even now it's like I'm doing like shows and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I'm hoping that, you know, it's going to continue to
But
trend
you
in this
want that
direction.
to grow
Yeah.
into a business itself.
Yeah, because really the end goal is for, you know, to be able to walk away from it and it still be, you know, working. You know what I mean? Like that's my
Oh, the
end
business.
goal. Yeah, as far as like the graphic design stuff.
I think it'll be hard for you to do that because I mean I think you could start a design agency maybe eventually and then have employees that work there, but I think you're always going to want to somehow be a part of this. It's that creative thing. It's
Yeah.
you know, and like he and I have talking about where you put your money. We invest the majority of the money we make back
Yeah.
into our own businesses,
Yeah.
into ourselves. Like what he was saying, and,
Yep.
but like you, I'm also an artist, so I really enjoy business, and that's a creative thing as well. But I really like to do some hands-on creative things too. So
Yeah.
you know, graphic design work or art, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think, you know,
He did some off the fly yesterday. We were in a business meeting helping a client that we consult with. We can't say any of the details, but we were doing corporate structure and multiple LLC format, just doing their whole thing. And while we were sitting there going through some things, he was, I don't want to say playing, but he was like literally. You know, he designed a logo and a thing in the back. I mean, like, and he was just like that, you know. But we had some free moments, and during those free moments, he was, you know, that artistic side came out, and it wasn't part of the package with the client, but they're getting some goodies.
Yeah.
But my point is that we have a lot of, when you've talked about this, we have a lot of time in the week.
Yeah,
a lot
true.
more than you realize.
100%.
Especially your age, you've got a ton of time.
Yeah, I have a shit ton of time.
So you need to make sure you dedicate
Yeah.
a certain block of that time to each one of those
Yeah.
things.
And that's honestly, shouts out to Eric Trundy, because I've been
yeah.
talking to him about like trying to like schedule, because and I feel like just like you said, like all of us, like just being artistic, we have all these ways that we like to express ourselves. Because
Right.
like for me, it's like ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and I know just in my heart, like I'm going to be where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like in that aspect.
And your girlfriend's gonna be a doctor, so you're gonna be okay no matter what.
Bro, I'm gonna be so straight. Like I'm gonna be so good.
And you already know she likes your dick.
Bro, I'm gonna be so good. I'm gonna be so straight. And
Sorry,
like,
sorry.
I'm sorry to your girlfriend's parents if you ever watch this. My apologies.
it's okay. They know what's up. But like it is like I do, because actually I was actually having that thought the other day. It's kind of like, well, when comedy does start picking back up, it's like, how am I going to balance these two things? Because even like outside of that business, it's like I still have my own separate like Goolsby Media LLC, and it's like that's like I use that to kind of like
It's
whenever
all related though.
Yeah, it is all related because
Yeah.
all that is like all my comedy stuff I'm doing under that Goolsby Media LLC.
Good.
And so it's like, but I do kind of, because it's like I do, I have like I enjoy doing like e-commerce stuff, like designing e-commerce sites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I do like print on demand stuff. You know what I mean? Like I do enjoy spending my time doing those things. And like even like especially like during like the COVID time when there was a 6-month period where I wasn't doing comedy, it was kind of like, oh, I really got to, I guess, fall in love with those things.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, well, now I've kind of like put myself in a position where I gotta keep doing these things because now these things are bringing in money.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like,
You still have plenty of time, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of like I don't want to.
Just make sure you write every day too.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm having such a hard time doing.
Well,
is-
that's part of being a creative person. You don't always feel creative, but if you sit down and you just start working on it, it'll come.
Yeah, and I also feel like I don't know. Sometimes like you ever like been like you're creative, but not in the way that you're trying to be creative in that moment.
Yeah.
Like there'll be times where like I'm trying to come up with a joke, but I'm really I got all these design ideas in
Yeah.
my head, and I'm like, well,
Shift gears, maybe.
yeah,
Sometimes I don't know. If I sit down to write, I'm going to write, and I'll just sit there and just kind of get in the zone. And once you break into that zone, it'll start to flow.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't know his process. I've seen him do something, right? But like sometimes I'll come in and he uses the AirPods really well because they have a silencing
Yeah,
feature,
noise
basically
canceling.
noise canceling. And so he'll like get in this zone. He can literally be in the middle of our office during chaos. Like there's all these outside variables that are competing for our time, our interest, etc. And he can literally get himself into a spot, and he kind of just checks out from everything else and focuses in. Like I actually admire that about what because I struggle getting into that flow state while I've got chaos going on.
Yeah.
And I've seen him do it, which is actually extremely impressive. I'll come in sometimes, and he's like just at it.
It's
right?
because I've worked in coffee shops a lot.
yeah.
My
Sitting
approach
in a
is
coffee shop working.
My approach is sort of is a little similar. Basically, I kind of take it like I got to touch base. If I write a word, that's fine. I've touched base. I can go about my business, and that does something in my mind and lets me feel good about that.
Yeah.
And I can go on. Generally, I write like a paragraph. I write every day. I write just a little bit, that kind of stuff. But I don't know if this helps you at all, but like I taught hired for 17 years and I made my students write all the time. But that kind of helped a lot of people. Don't worry about it. Get out of your own way
Yeah.
and just start writing. And if it's terrible, who cares?
Yeah, and I feel like I do need to start like coming up with like a daily schedule, or at least relatively structuring my day. Because like right now, it's like I have a whiteboard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like I write down all the things that I'm like, these are the things that are important this week.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it's like
Do you have it right in your face?
yeah, like it's literally like right at my
That's what I
desk
do, man.
every day.
Me
Because it's
too.
like the first
Yeah.
thing I do when I get up, I make coffee, and then I go to my office, open up my laptop,
Oh, good.
I check on my
Yeah.
stores. I look to see what types of designs on my store are trending right now.
Yeah.
Do I have any current ideas? Am I working on any designs that might fall into that? Then also, but it's like after like I kind of go through like that morning routine of like I'm just like checking up on everything and all the social media pages that I run and stuff. It's like I'm almost kind of like I don't know what to do after that, but I know I got to get these things done. But it's like
Right.
I don't feel like doing this. I know it's a priority.
Yeah.
And then it's just like I might spend like 2 or 3 hours on something that was at the very bottom of the list, just trying to get myself to feel productive.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, I'm ready to, not do nothing for the rest of the day. And I still haven't done these things at the top of the list, and it's Thursday. Like, like the week is almost over. I haven't done these things.
Yeah.
I think that's very common amongst entrepreneurs, man. We're procrastinators sometimes by nature, I think.
Yeah.
At least some of us are.
I have
Yeah.
I have this theory that entrepreneurs, especially creative entrepreneurs like us, I think we're probably somewhere in the bipolar spectrum.
Yeah.
And I believe that maybe we don't have like the low baseline where we get really depressed. Although I have been depressed before, but I think we're able to get in these manic states, or maybe even just sort of encourage these manic states where we can get in this real creative headspace and just stay there for long periods of time
Get
Yeah.
a ton done.
and get a lot done really fast. Because I can do, like, I feel just
Yeah.
not motivated at all sometimes.
Yeah.
But then I'll start working on something, and then I start to feel that creativity's build up, and it just starts to just ramp up, and it's just like it's out of control.
Yeah.
And then I'm unstoppable.
Yeah.
And then I can
Yeah.
I can get like days of work done in just a few hours sometimes.
Have you ever done that? Like you could do this. I struggle with this, and I've worked through it. But okay, I'm gonna do 30 minutes a day every day this week, right? Mm-hmm. Nah, fuck that. Friday's here. I haven't done any of my 30 minutes. I'm gonna do all 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna crank it out. I'm gonna crank, and I get done. I'm like, yes, man, I fucking killed it. Next week, I'm not gonna do it. Next week, 30 minutes a day, I'm gonna do it, and I do it again the next week. I do the exact same shit. Yeah. It's like, why do I keep doing this?
Yeah, because
I think it's that manic state I'm trying to get into.
Yeah. But when I get in that state, I can't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll have those days where it's like, there have been days where it's like I will work from 9:30 until 7, 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And it's like just sitting in front of my computer, but forget to eat.
Yeah,
Everything. I'm
That's common,
dehydrated.
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know I hadn't. Last sip of water was 5 hours ago.
Or you're about to piss yourself. You're like, I gotta fucking
Yeah.
sit this down. And go
Like
to the
about right,
bathroom.
like right now.
And then for the rest of the week, I'll just be unmotivated.
Yeah.
After that one
Yeah.
day.
Well, but when that happens though, just start doing something again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'll start to build that back up.
Yeah.
Because it's and that's maybe the difference between people that become really successful and don't is you have to be able to make yourself sit down and do the work.
Yeah.
And it's hard after you've been in those really manic states and you've got a lot of work done. It's easy to just try to relax the next day or something, but you need to do something, even if it's just an hour or two.
Yeah.
You need to,
I do some version of Jesse's method too. Like sometimes just start.
yeah.
Like I get a list, and I typically like to start with the hardest things first. Let me rephrase that. I want to start with the hardest things first.
Yeah.
My typical, my natural selection takes me to the easy thing, like because I don't want to do anything, right? But I try to force myself to do the most difficult items first.
Yeah.
And then it should be all downhill from there. But that doesn't always work. But I just start, man. I don't know. Like I love reading, like not traditional books, like things about finance and acquisitions and business, motivation, positivity. I like stuff like that. But I work a lot. Let's say 90 to 100 hours a week. I've got 20 hours of commuting at minimum a week. I do. So what I've had to do is, even though I like the physical word, I like to read. I don't know why I absorb it better. But what I've started doing too is during my commute, because I used to read, I'd say I've always averaged 50 to 100 books a year.
Yeah.
Well, last year, I don't know if you can count it because I listened to a lot of them.
Yeah.
But while I'm commuting, I would do the audiobooks, right? Or I'll do positive podcasts or YouTube. Like I'm trying to educate myself. So I've got this time that I'm wasting that I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I try to turn it into something productive, right? And sometimes it's just like if I start it in the trip, I really just want to listen to music. But if I just start with something positive or productive, and then I get to the next one, and the next thing you know, I've listened to 40 minutes of something positive and motivational, and now I'm in the mindset to do that thing that I was trying to put off, and it's got like this domino effect.
Yeah.
And I just got to get myself in that state. Sometimes you got to trick myself, and sometimes I just listen to fucking music.
Yeah.
Kevin Gates, Power, boom,
Right,
come on,
yeah.
you got to check it out.
Because I'm also the same way. It was like, especially for me, it's so much easier when like when sports weren't going on. It was so much easier for me to just be like, oh, I'm gonna. Because usually it's like, oh, I know Skip and Shannon come on at 9:30. I'm finna. This is what I'm locked into. I'm watching like the NBA highlights from the night before. So it's like I'm like most of the time when I start consuming content or whatever, it is kind of like I'm consuming just stuff that I want to watch, not necessarily something that's going to put me in a mindset to get things done.
Right.
Yeah.
But I did notice, like, when the NBA season wasn't happening, when the NFL wasn't happening, it was like, oh, I have nothing to do but consume productive content, which makes me more productive.
I'm going to tell you not to be. So I think we're a society of consumers, right? And I try to get out of that. So I don't watch sports, right?
Yeah.
I just don't.
I don't either.
Because I don't get trapped in that, right? Like I get it, and I get you get joy out of it, but you're a consumer, right? And so you're literally taking time, effort, energy. You're taking all this, whatever, all that brain activity you got, and you're focusing on being a consumer of something, and you're being sold to, right?
A lot of
Yeah.
bandwidth.
And like for me, it's like I just try not to get trapped in that. I respect the hell out of some of the athletes, some of the business accomplishments that they've had, some of the things they do in the community. There's specific ones that I really, really like, and sometimes I find out about an athlete or an artist or an actor or whatever, somebody that you wouldn't think that has actually done this miraculous thing that they're not known for.
Yeah.
But and like those things I respect about those people, but I try not to get trapped in the and the minutia of sports. And I grew up as an athlete, right? So,
Yeah.
But it just was like a mental thing. Like I can't get caught in this.
Yeah, because me, basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like I don't know what it is about the game of basketball, but it's just like if I see it, it's like if I log on to YouTube and that's the first recommended video is like something basketball related, I'm just like, let me watch this, bro. I've watched like. I don't play for anybody anymore, but there have been times where I'll just watch a workout, like a basketball workout. I just like basketball,
Yeah.
like just
I
to
get it.
that extent.
Yeah.
And I am trying to get out of that because I'm like, well, being good at learning a new shooting drill right now
Yeah.
is not going to help me. First off, I can't even play pickup right now. Like, I can't even play pickup. So what's the point? What is
Yeah.
the use of this? But it is like, I don't know. I will spend hours just watching basketball stuff. I spend in cartoons, bro.
See, now I like some cartoons. Let me tell you. So there's a whole different side of this too. Sometimes I need to check out.
Yeah.
Right, like okay, I've given it. I've put in a solid day. Right, and you know the days when you really put in work.
Yeah.
We all know. And some days I get into the day and I was busy, but I didn't put real work in.
Yep.
Right, you just going through the motions. But when I put a day in, I want to check out. You know, I'll do whatever I do to check out, and then I'll consume stuff that is not educational. Like I want sometimes the dumbest cartoons or I go to comedy, or maybe there's certain things that I really, I want to go down a rabbit hole sometimes, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I'll check out sometimes, and that's what helps my brain stop, so that it's not always I got to do this, and I can kind of just relax and I can go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so, like, I do have that too, and I think that balance is important. I love some good cartoons, man. And there are some decent cartoons today, what I would call adult cartoons, but the kids' cartoons are shit compared to what they used to be. Like, so I get stuck in. I hate it. I don't know if you watch old school cartoons, but I get stuck in the old school cartoons.
Oh, yeah, I rocks with the old school cartoons.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, to be honest, because I grew up on like a boomerang. I watched whatever my dad grew up on. That was mostly what I watched growing up.
Yeah.
And but I'm gonna be honest, I used to like hate all like the new stuff on Cartoon Network, but it is some quality cartoons. It's very much so different than like the entire like I guess vibe of
it's different.
cartoons.
Yeah.
Like even children's cartoons is just so different.
It is.
But like it's almost like children's cartoons have become more mature in like certain ways, where it's kind of like, or like they're like the subject matter is more mature, but they just put it in like a cute
Yeah.
like package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Less violent, I think. I feel like.
yeah, it is a lot less violent, but
Yeah.
it's like
Which is
I feel
probably
like
a good
it's-
thing.
Yeah, but I feel like it's more nuanced. Like
Yeah.
children's cartoons are so nuanced. Like The Amazing World of Gumball, I will say, is as close as they're going to get to SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, SpongeBob SquarePants is one of just a damn near perfect cartoon. like especially like the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, I'm like, bro, this is the perfect cartoon. And but it's like The Amazing World of Gumball.
Ren and Stimpy was our version of that when I was a kid.
Yeah, I also like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
But it's like it is like those like slight like nuanced like social critiques.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of those in children's cartoons now
Yeah.
that like that weren't necessarily in some like the other things.
Yeah.
Like the OG Scooby Doo's,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hong Kong Phooey. That was my
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
like I wanna whenever I get a dog, I was gonna name my dog Penrod Pooch. Like
Did you ever fuck with like Darkwing Duck?
yeah, dark
That
winged
was
duck.
that was
Let's
tough.
get
Yes.
dangerous. I like my kids. I was getting so tired because when we travel, right? They've got a TV that they can watch, and that's when I'm subjected to their stuff the longest periods. And I'm like, man, this is shit. Like I'm literally listening to it. And I'm like, this is terrible. And I'm like, man, so I bought like Darkwing Duck, DuckTales. I bought all kinds of old
DuckTales
school.
is a good one,
I
yeah.
bought a bunch of stuff,
Tailspin.
man. I was like, we're going old school, a lot of Scooby Doo, like the original, like. I was like, I'm taking you guys to this different path. This is some of these trips to Florida.
Oh, okay.
I was like, we're going to take you down a different path. And now they're like Darkwing Duck fans, and so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do that too.
I like some of the adult animated series out there. Like,
Yeah.
Some's genius. Rick and Morty's pretty.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
They go
Yeah.
pretty. They cover basically everything.
Yeah.
South Park. And,
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Bob's Burgers fan.
I haven't
yeah.
seen that, but I've heard
Bob's
of it.
Burgers is great. Archer, do you watch Archer?
Yes,
Yeah.
bro.
Archer's good. I've seen it.
Hey, I'll tell you, like when I'm really in my zone, I can fuck with Archer. Yeah, it'll get me.
It's great.
It'll get.
Right.
I'll be rolling.
Pam's
Look, I got
the best.
my AirPods in. I'm sitting over there. I'm rolling. I come out of it because you're in a trance, and I come out of it, and Jessica's like looking at my wife's like, "The fuck are you doing?" You know, like, and I get the AirPods in. I'm rolling. I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I got the AirPods in to be quiet, but I'm like laughing and just like I'm having a fucking time, right? And the kids are asleep. My wife's asleep. Like, I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Right. Like my dad, he likes the more like the Looney Tunes type cartoons, where it's like you're
Yeah,
a
my
lot
dad
of
does, too.
slapstick.
Yeah.
So it's like my
yeah.
dad was like really big on like Family Guy, and like we used to watch The
I like
Simpsons
Family
a
Guy.
lot.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Roadrunner. I don't know why. I still got into that. I don't know why.
I love it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Also, Roadrunner, I like how it was just. I like the no dialogue. I think
Yeah.
that was what I really liked about it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's straight action. Like they
All
bout
visual.
it.
Yeah.
That and Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, I love Tom and Jerry. That was a good.
And Tom and Jerry's a violent cartoon.
it
too.
is
super
all
violent.
those
Yeah.
are really violent
Yeah.
cartoons.
And it's like
What's the one with the? Is it Roadrunner 2 where no
Bugs
the
Bunny.
Bugs
yeah,
Bunny
Bugs
man.
Bunny with like Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, man.
And it's like those are the things that like my dad. Those are the type of cartoons like even now my dad likes. So my dad loves South Park, like Cleveland, pretty much anything Seth Rogen did. South Park.
Yeah.
And I guess like what people will consider the golden age of The Simpsons. And my dad was.
Yeah, I like The Simpsons too. Yeah.
But then it's like my dad, for whatever reason, he can't connect with like Bob's Burgers, like the more tamer cartoons. Like I guess he doesn't see
How old
cartoons
is
as
your
like
dad?
55.
Okay.
So I don't know, like kind of like that association of like, oh, like because I used to really want to be a like when I went to school for graphic design. I was like, oh, I want to, I guess concentrate in like animation and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And then just to realize that the school I went to didn't have a very good animation
Program or whatever.
Yeah, so I kind of just stuck to like the web UI kind of
Right,
deal, and but it's kind of like I think people really underestimate animation as like a storytelling medium,
Yeah.
or at least like here, like in America, and just kind of like seeing the difference between like the cartoons that came out at the same time as like certain animes, and just how different as Americans we view animation.
Right.
Because it's like in Japan and stuff, it is very much so like you can watch anime and almost get a feel for Japanese culture and history.
For sure.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's just like I feel like for a lot of the primetime cartoons, maybe not as much now as it used to be, but it's like everything was trademarked and sold. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was very much so it's like this is for kids, specifically to get kids to ask their parents to do these things. Like these things is like it was almost just like, yo, this is just it's just a marketing tool.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like it is a beautiful art form. Because even like the difference between like why I don't like what Netflix has done to anime. Because it's almost like commercialized it to a sense where it almost takes what I liked about it. Because anime used to only like even like currently almost used to be strictly hand drawn, and now it's like Netflix is really like trying to push the like the CGI type kind of style, like 3D integrated type style.
Yeah. But that may just be the technological evolution of that art too, that medium.
Yeah, and it could just be me as someone who appreciates the actual art, because I'm like, when you watch like the old Looney Tunes, it's like you, in a weird way, I feel it more. Like I feel the animation more, like the way it's drawn. Like, oh, I can feel the fact that someone drew this. Someone is trying to express something to me right now. Mm-hmm. Versus like now, like animation is very much like pose, talk,
but it's still
and then goofy movement.
I think that's still probably because you grew up watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some nostalgic effect that happens. We all go through this thing where we really like these things from our childhood that we were first introduced to. Mm-hmm. But then the new generations like the stuff that they were introduced to, and it just keeps, like, we'll be the guys that are saying, oh, remember how this used to be done?
Yeah.
I really like that better. But maybe that's just because that's what we knew. And then the new generations like something else better.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely feel that because even like there are still like I said, like Amazing World of Gumball, Craig of the Creek. Yo,
I haven't seen the. See, I'm too old to.
Craig of the Creek, yo, I don't care how old you are or anything. I feel like Craig of the Creek is one of the most important cartoons, like in modern culture. Like that's one of the cartoons. I'm like, bro, like I got to show my kids. Like you have to watch this. Like you have to watch because it's just like a lot of one thing I've noticed is like a lot of cartoons are like very much so based off like the idea of like what being a good friend is.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like there's a lot of like I feel like in a time where people complain about the lack of social interactions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of like, well, if this is what we're teaching kids, if this is what we're like kind of exposing kids to as far as like the ideas of how you're supposed to socialize with people, I'm like, I would much rather the quality over quantity as far as interactions. Like, oh, you can't go to this store to do this. And I like to buy stuff from the person. But I'm like, but if that person's a dick, I would hate doing that. Like if that person doesn't know how to be around people.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I feel like there's like a whole nother, like I said, just like a nuance to like cartoons that I feel like can really be like taken away into life, but still keeping those fun, silly, goofy like characteristics of what I love about cartoons.
Right,
so
yeah.
I do kind of give props to some of the newer stuff, but my only critique really is just like I like the hand drawn, I like the feel. I don't really care for the 3D integrated. I'm so like I'm 2D animation all the way. You know what I mean? Like the only people I even want to see a 3D animation from is Pixar because I feel like they're the only people that do it perfectly.
I was
And
gonna say-
DreamWorks.
That new movie Soul. But you need to watch that too, man.
My kids watched it, and they told me I need to. I don't watch a lot of
You'll
TV,
appreciate
but
it more than they will.
you think so?
It's an adult movie.
My
Really?
Yeah.
my middle son Sebastian,
deep.
he loves to sing, and he was like, oh yeah, it's from the new movie. So he's watched it like 2 or 3 times. So he says
Really
it's good.
good.
He's only 8, but I mean he just turned 8. But
He's really intelligent.
yeah. So I'm about to check it out. But
You ever watch Inside Out?
yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Or
have.
is
It's
that
good,
that
yeah.
movie?
yeah.
With,
Inside, you talking about
the core memories?
the
Yeah.
feelings?
Yeah.
yeah. My kids
Really
are
Yo,
good too. Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't really care for 3D animation, but that is one of those where I'm
Yep.
just like, yo, this is just
Yep.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and I hate to give it this much props, but it's like it's almost is like when I talk about all that animation could be as like a platform for storytelling and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, that's kind of the stuff that I'm talking about. Like it is, I do feel like we have just kind of made animation this like strictly for kids type of deal. I'm like, bro, it's so much more than that.
That's true.
Like, because even then, I don't think I would have appreciated that movie if I was 11 or 12
Yeah,
watching
you
it.
wouldn't understand it, bro.
I don't think I
Yeah.
would. I don't think I would really get it.
I think you'd like it, but you wouldn't understand the
Yeah.
deeper meaning. of it.
Coco, yo, Coco. I watched Coco. Can I talk about drug usage on
Yeah,
here?
100%.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So like from time to time I like to do a little bit of LSD. You know what I'm saying? Free my mind.
Yeah.
And I watched Coco while on LSD. Dude, first off, just almost like the whole idea of like the Day of the Dead, like people like coming back to visit, like people actually coming back from the land of the dead.
Yeah.
That was crazy in itself. But then like when I really got past that, and it's like, there is this thing like, I feel like, when you do any psychedelic, you're able to like, I feel like you're just able to tap into emotions just,
That connectedness.
yeah, and like in a much healthier way.
Yeah.
And it was just like really just kind of understanding like it did. I feel like that movie really did kind of take away that fear of death, especially I feel like being able to watch it on a tab because it is kind of like, and I guess it is part of being like, I guess part of the reason I'm an artist is like, when I want to leave some sort of impact, and it's like, and if I leave an impact, it is kind of like I don't really die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a sense. So it's like as long as I'm doing good.
Well, maybe you don't die anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really understand.
Yeah.
Even from a scientific perspective, we don't understand time and space-time and all this stuff. We don't know if it's there are some theories now that none of that's really real. That it's all just information, and it may even be that all time, everything is happening all at once. We just experience time in a linear way, but every moment still exists.
Yeah.
Both ways, or I kind of believe. Going back to the religious stuff, I kind of feel like maybe and also the hair thing.
Yeah.
You said the hair thing. Like, who's the first person that started cutting their hair? It probably started out when we were primates, earlier versions of humans. Probably we started wearing clothing just to be warmer, or we started losing hair, so start covering up with clothing, and then start to like certain types of clothing, and then you start to get certain looks. You start to develop art.
Yeah.
Necklaces and bracelets and stuff like that. You start to create art, and then you start to modify your appearance. You start to recognize
who you are.
Oh, like this
or that
is
you're
me.
a thing.
You start recognizing reflection. So then you're like, oh, this is me, and you start to change the way you look, and it's just a gradual evolution. But what I think that is I think we are the conscious version of nature. I think we are like nature waking up. I think that's why we're so fascinated with shiny, pretty things, because we're really just nature looking at its ability and admiring its ability to manipulate itself.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a possibility that, since information is never lost, that eventually, after we die, our consciousness will somehow remain in the mix, and maybe we'll wake up eventually in the future as this one organism, this one being. Maybe it's just the awakening of nature, and maybe that's why we're starting to have these really big questions, because we've been asleep for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, and for me, that even still goes back to like the whole energy thing, where it's just like, I mean, this physical matter breaks down, but it's like the energy does not.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not destroyed or whatever.
And nothing is what we see either. Everything we see is all a construct. It's all created by our representation of reality. And so if you go to the quantum level on everything, it's all energy. There are no solid particles. It's all energy fields, energy waves. And really nothing ever touches each other. Nothing touches. There's always a space between everything. All atoms have a space between them. Like when you touch this chair, you're not really touching the chair. You experience it as touching it, but there's really a space between your hand and the chair, and all the atoms in your body and the chair.
You guys went real scientific. I was going to interject, but I wanted to wait till you finish. But check this out. So on some level, you were talking about like self-discovery, right?
Yeah.
Think about this, like animals. My dog, right? How does my dog know where his dick goes? Right? Like, how do we as humans know, like, oh, I think my dick should go on that hole right there, and we're going to make babies, right? We did, like, there's some of these things that have been going on for
Just innate.
thousands of years, right? And it's like, there's like, this belongs there, and why? But like, you're like, well, when did this self-discovery process, like, well, when did we become aware, like, think about that for a second.
Strange,
like,
yeah.
I mean, even before we were self-aware, maybe we're procreating, right? But did we know? I don't know. Like, you start down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, that's really interesting.
Well,
maybe they just creatures slept in piles for a while, and things just kind of worked out that way.
Oh, that's warm.
Well, everything is everything.
That's what it was.
Driven,
they were trying to stay warm.
Yeah, everything's driven by natural selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff we do is based on making more of us.
Yeah.
And we are aware of that now. But we're also learning more about how we work and what we are. Like there's almost more than one of us in each of us. What I mean? Your mind is very complex, and it can want two different things at the same time. Like is that your ancestors? Like, I wonder, like, is that? It's probably some of it's your DNA. I would say that there's probably a lot of information coded in your DNA.
And I kind of, like how it's like, kind of going like that infinite intelligence thing, where it's kind of like you almost have, like, you have access to all the information that's ever been in existence.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have access to any consciousness that's ever existed.
Right.
And it's like, there have been times where I do, not to sound, crazy. Nobody try to admit me to
every consciousness that's ever existed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I almost feel like I can interact with, like, even like, not like, oh, I can't identify this particular thing, but it's like, it's almost like I'm conversating with something, especially like when I'm trying to come up with an idea or I'm doing something creative. Yeah. It's almost like I'm bouncing this off of somebody, but I don't know. Cause it's like, kind of like, how do we critique ourselves?
Yeah.
Like, who are we really bouncing these things off of?
Who are you talking to?
Yeah. So then it's like, sometimes I will feel like, like the one visual concept I had came up with, And then it's like, you know, when I went back, I was like, yo, this kind of like is like some weird. It's a weird like Basquiat. Like I've never been like a student of fine art and stuff like that. But then it's like I'll come up with the concept, and then I'll kind of like, you know, do some research on kind of just like what maybe like art fundamentals that I think would go into me creating this.
Yeah.
And then I'll realize, oh, there's like there are other artists like who have lived and died before I was even a thought. You know what I mean? Is that me?
It's time.
Oh, that is me. I like how.
Well, I have the same alarm.
I like that you set the alarm.
See, I usually so like, you know, I day trade.
Okay.
That's
okay.
another thing. I like to learn. I just like to learn new things.
I just wanted
like, all
to
the
point
time.
out that you have the same curse we have.
What?
You're doing 15 things at once, man.
Yeah, no.
It's a curse and a blessing. I do the same.
Be careful with it, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See, because for me, it's kind of like
The longer I talk to you, the more I realize they're very similar.
yeah. Because also, I've been trying to like narrow myself down to like the things that I'm actually going to focus on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because for a while it was just like, oh, I was just kind of day trading, go to work, trying to figure out comedy.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, oh, well, I have time to really learn all the things that I want to learn. And I'm just like, oh, I just want to learn everything.
Well, you don't have time to do all that.
Yeah, but I don't. So
Well,
it's like,
you can attempt to learn everything, but what'll happen is you'll master nothing.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's another thing where I'm kind of like, you know, what are the things that I'm really trying to do?
Yeah.
Like, what am I really? What is my end goal? Not necessarily for like today or this week, but it's like when I feel like I'm ready to retire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever, and I don't think that's necessarily a thing.
Yeah.
I'm always going to want to do something.
I agree.
Because I can
That's
argue.
like saying, when am I ready to die?
Yeah,
I
because
think-
I can argue I'm retired right now.
Yeah, I think I'd like to die tomorrow. You know, I think
Yeah.
I'm done with this life thing and
Yeah.
tired of doing shit. You know.
Retiring is for people that turn their bodies into a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's another thing. I'm kind of like, you retire, then do what?
Yeah.
And do what? Just
Yeah.
waste time. 'Cause-
Hopefully, do something you're passionate about.
yeah.
You should
See,
not
but
begin with.
and then I'm like, and that's my whole like argument like with my dad, like, because my dad's kind of like, you know, oh, like, you know, as a man, you have a responsibility to get these things done. Like, you can't do. Pretty much, my dad's like, you can't do for yourself. It's not like it's not like your whole purpose of being a man is to do for the people around you and suffer. I'm
But where
like,
does that come from, though?
Yeah.
bruh, and I'm like, because I'm like, yo,
I kind of feel that way a little bit sometimes, don't you?
Well, yeah, because we were raised that way.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, you know, and it's like part of me, it is kind of like I can understand that because now it's like, you know, now I'm not in my parents' house. I'm my own person. I have a girl. Like
Yeah.
I'm with.
And you want to protect her.
Yeah, and it's like I want to protect, and then
Yeah.
and you know, and this is the person that I plan on, you know, what I'm saying, passing my genes to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I don't want.
Are you guys engaged yet?
No, don't put that pressure out there.
All right,
though.
no, my
Hey,
bad.
listen, that's you know, I'm not sure that marriage is
Yeah.
a. I'm not sure how much it makes. I love being married. I love my
Yeah.
wife, but the whole idea of marriage, like, why would you make your relationship a part of the state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does the government got to give you
It makes
permission
no
to,
sense
to
to me.
join?
See, and I feel that way. The only reason why I ever even want to get married is literally almost asset protection reasons.
Well, get married and just do it on your own terms with her.
Yeah.
Like make a commitment
Well, yeah.
together.
Yeah, because originally we were just kind of like, yo, because whenever she goes off to medical school, I'm like, yo, wherever we go, you know, we're going to be there for a while because medical school takes a while.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was just like, I'm not, and every other place that has a decent medical school that she wants to be at, you know, it's a lot more expensive than living in
Get her
Greensboro.
to pick good comedy locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been trying to push a couple of cities on her.
Yeah.
And,
New York,
Yeah, well, not LA.
LA, Austin.
I was gonna say I don't know
It's
about
gonna be a
LA.
big one.
Woo.
There was ideally, I've always wanted. Austin has always been on my list because I'm like,
It's warm.
it's warm. And then also just real estate in Texas is just ridiculously.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. A lot cheaper.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, I've always been a person who's like, whenever I buy a house, I want a lot of land. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
Yeah.
like, I kind of want, not to say I want a farm, but I want the ability to grow my own food.
Want space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but even like my whole thing was, you know, whenever we move, you know, I want to buy a home or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's, and I'm kind of like, you know, whether we rent it out when we leave, if we don't want to be in this city, or we just sell it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I do want to eventually get rental property, but it's also like, you know, I want to make sure, because I think I was reading something where it's like there are like certain ways, I guess it's just easier if you're legally married, you know, where it's like, oh, if something happens to me, it's almost like automatic she, you know, gets.
Yeah.
The only
can do
other
that
way
through wills and stuff too.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do that, you're going to have to utilize wills, or you're going to need to utilize like corporations.
Yeah,
And then there's
ways
trust.
of
There's things you can do with
structure.
trust and stuff like that. You don't have to be married to do that, but it's just
That's the best. If you become really successful, doing all that through trust is probably the
yeah.
best way to do
Because
it.
I want you to think about it. A trust or a business can live forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not inheritance tax. Like there's different ways to transfer. Literally, what you're transferring is the management of that and that trust or that investment, right?
It's like a business.
It's a business.
See,
so
and I also thought about that. I was like, you know, what if like if me and her form an LLC and then just buy the house,
yeah.
you know, through the LLC or whatever.
Actually, that's a good idea to buy the house through the LLC and then rent to yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Like,
Well, and if we're going to look at it from an investment perspective, if you do it that way, then what you've really got is you got a rent roll. So you've got a business that's a performing business. You have an asset that's performing, that's going up in theory, going up in value, and through debt pay down. Between the debt pay down and the appreciation of property, the spread of that is your equity growth, right? And as a business, it structured as a business, you've got additional write-offs that could come from the upkeep of that business, of that property, right? The structure of the property. And then as a business, when you go to a bank, XYZ LLC has a tenant. This is the cash flow. These are the rent rolls. These are expenses. This is your operating, right? You can come up with an NOI. And you go to the bank, and the bank will lend based off those facts, right?
leverage that property.
It doesn't matter that you are the tenant, right? And then rinse, wash, repeat. Do that 10 times or 20 times or however many times you want to do.
Okay.
So I like that idea. So what the government typically does is it's an exchange of rights. They give you something, a carrot, to get married. And when you get married, you're given the government dominion over your relationship, and you're agreeing to play by a subset of rules, right? And one of those things might be tax advantages, right? So that's the carrot, right? And then, so if you start to look at it, you go, at what point does it make sense not to own a property in a corporation? There are some I'd say get with an accountant, get with an attorney, but there are some circumstances like in Florida. Florida's a homestead state and a castle. There's basically a castle state. So, you know, when O.J. Simpson went through what he went through, the reason his creditors couldn't come after his home in Florida is because your primary residence is protected from creditors if you own it as an individual, right? So, like, there are some exceptions, but you don't have to own it inside of a marriage. You can own it as an individual, right?
Yeah.
There are some exceptions where maybe it makes sense. It just depends on what the objective is, right? But I think even if you're married, own it in a corporation, because I don't particularly like what marriage has turned into. And let's go back to marriage certificates were originally came about because they didn't want white people marrying black people. That's where a marriage license came from, right? And a way to tax, so poor couldn't afford to get married, and two, it had to be approved.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't like the origin of what has turned into marriage in America. Now go back before that, and you have religious marriages, right? So you know where back in the day, depending on the religion, it might be as simple as a gathering of the families and writing in a Bible, and that was the joinage of that family tree, right? It was symbolic.
Yeah.
Like
and that's more so what I would care
I'm fully
for.
up to that.
Yeah.
I don't like the other bullshit.
Yeah, because for me, it's kind of like I said, the property thing was really the only thing, like in that whole situation of like assets in case.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I own like, you know, I have like, you know, ownership of like, you know, funds, like investment funds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like right now, it's like, you know, if anything happens, all that money goes to my sister and stuff.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like, I think I was trying to figure out with like the guy, I was like, you know, to what degree, like if I'm not blood related to my girl and we're not legally married.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like,
But you want to make sure she's okay.
yeah, like, cause it's like she, not saying that she depends on me, but I am a factor in her socioeconomic
Yeah. You
situation.
depend on each other.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of like, I would hate for something to happen to me. And then it's like, now she's just ass out, or, you know, she's put in a worse predicament than she necessarily needs to be. And I guess but it's like outside of that, it is kind of like, yo, I would really rather it just be like a symbolic thing. I don't really care for the taxes, the tech. I mean,
Well, they're going to get you with that eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
yeah.
But,
So and then because even like isn't there
it's
what's it
common
called?
law.
Yeah, common law marriage. Isn't that still a thing?
In most states, not
Can
all
be,
states. Yeah.
So is that like that's just like you can just live together for like isn't like 7 years? Like
7
that's the
years.
thing.
Yeah, normally too. Part of that is that's a lot of times that argument comes into play when one of the parties is wealthier than the other,
Yeah.
and they try to force a common law and say that even though we're not married, and they try to take assets, right? So normally that's where that happens when you have this separation, because at what other point does it matter?
If she's going to be a doctor and you're a successful entrepreneur and comedian, that's not going to be
Well, and what you can
Yeah.
do too is you guys can come up with an agreement and a contract
That's true,
amongst yourselves, right? And so if you were married, if you're getting married as a prenup, if you're already married as a postnup, right? So you go to sit down with an attorney, and really what it is this is us memorializing. It's not about one party taking advantage of the other. This is actually the opposite. This is about, this is what my will, like not physical will, but like the will. This is what I intend to have happen. This is what my request is. If something doesn't, every business relationship you enter into, there's got to be some contract. There's some meeting of the minds, right? And I think you should do the same thing. If you're going to spend your life with a woman or a man or whatever, then there's got to be some. You're entering into a contract one way or another. So just because you didn't physically fill one out and you guys didn't have this type of conversation and you weren't methodical about what it is you'd like and what your requests are, well, then what that means is the government gets to decide for you. Right? And I don't like that. So I think no matter what you and her do, you guys should memorialize for your own peace of mind, like, hey, these are the things that are important to us. And it doesn't have to be in a negative connotation. Like, hey, if something happens to me, I care about you. I want to direct these things to you because, like what I tell Jessica, I was like, I love her. I care about her. I fully want her to be happy. I don't expect her to stay single.
Yeah.
But what I would like to do is provide her an opportunity so that she doesn't have to depend on a man for money. And if she does find happiness, it's truly based on happiness and not based on survival.
Yeah.
Right. And I want the same for my children. I want to provide an opportunity for them to experience life still. Right. So you got to be methodical about it and not, when you're younger, I feel like a lot of guys, no, if something ever happened to you, baby, I'd never sleep with anybody else. That's just not realistic.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
And you want somebody to be happy. You don't want them to be miserable forever. So, you need to have those conversations up front and plan because shit happens.
Yeah.
And it never happens when you plan for it to happen.
Yeah.
It's great you're thinking about this stuff at 23, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Have a big advantage.
See, to be honest, I always think, because even there have been times where it's like I forget that I'm as young as I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like because sometimes I feel like, bro, I'm trying to move too fast in life. And I'm like, I don't think I'm moving fast.
Life's really short.
I was going to say, man, a lot of
as you
people
get older, it
they're
moves
used to
faster.
a lot of people are used to moving really slow. I think that's why
Yeah.
you feel moving fast.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with people that are like you, you'll realize you're not moving as quickly as you think you are.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because because I am kind of like, I do have friends who are my age, younger, and it's like, they're also looking into buying property.
Yeah.
Not just for themselves, but it's like, I'm actually thinking ahead about renting this property out.
Yeah.
Renting it out, getting the mortgage done in 10 years, dumping it off. You know what I'm saying? And then just walk away from it. And I'm like, and just on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I am like, because then I guess I feel like I'm moving fast just because I'm doing a lot. I'm not really focused.
Compared to your current peers, you probably are.
Yeah, you're
What I'm
moving
saying
fast
is
as most.
it's like an NBA athlete or let's say a college level athlete is competing with a middle school athlete, right? They feel like they're above and beyond, right? But if they start playing at the NBA level, they got to step their game up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at is if your center of influence, if your circle that you're in gets more advanced and you surround yourself with more people that are like-minded, you're going to outpace everybody, the status quo by far, right? But you'll realize that maybe there are others out there that are very similar to you that are also moving at that pace, and it'll actually encourage you to be better. Neil makes me a better business person, right?
And vice versa.
And vice versa. I mean, we thrive. Sometimes when I'm dropping the ball, he's on it, and it's just one of those things, man. Was it steel sharpens steel, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because even me, I have a very small circle of people, just in general. I'm friends with a lot of people, but there are very few people that I really feel that type of connection with.
Yeah.
And it's they're all still like I said, the same caliber.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just they're very few of those people. And also, like, I grew up in Greensboro, never left Greensboro. I haven't really even attempted to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I on purpose went to college in Greensboro. You know what I mean? And that was more so of like
more financial though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was just more
close to
so of
home.
like it would be a lot easier for everybody. Like, I didn't want to live at home, but also it's like I'm not trying to be so far away that, you know, it gets expensive, and if
Yeah.
something happens, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of, you know.
You went to school to go to school though. You wanted to learn. You had
Yeah.
a specific thing you wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And-
See,
and-
and what's crazy is I feel like what I wanted to learn out of college, I learned in my first 2 years, and I wasted like the other 2.5. Because it was like, I went to college because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, which is typical.
Yeah.
And then I realized what I wanted to do early on in college. And then realizing like that second year that I didn't need to be in school to do what I wanted to do. I just needed to be in an environment that allowed me to figure it out.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like, now I have these expectations
Yeah.
to finish and stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
that's like a whole nother like topic
Yeah,
as far as just like those other societal pressures of trying to be a certain type of person. Cause it is kind of like, and then one thing I've noticed, like when I did try to get jobs after college, and it's like I was doing what I went to school for, I was already doing.
Yeah.
I was doing well before I went to school. But then it was like, it was almost like college became negative experience.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that I've been doing this thing since I was 12, 13, 14. But I went to school, and that's all you see is that time period where I was in school. And now it's like, well, now you're starting at zero versus, you started honing this skill at 13.
Yeah.
And then you went to school to enhance yourself. And now you're at, you know, because technically I would have been doing what I've been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working, like, I started my first YouTube channel when I was 11.
Yeah.
And I've been, like, you know, writing sketches, helping other people write, editing for other people, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I've always kind of been in that realm. And it's kind of like, you know, if I didn't go to school, how much would that experience play to my benefit versus if I didn't go to school, or if I, like, now that I did go to school, and now it's kind of like, oh, well, that's just stuff you did before college.
I think depending on what it is you're studying, sometimes school can be really good for helping you learn the fundamentals of whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's graphic design, you know, going to a university or a school that's going to teach that program to you, so you may learn the fundamentals of that art or
Mm-hmm.
that art form and that business.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was really more so when I was in school. Today, you can learn those fundamentals on your own online easily. Yeah. There's tons of resources and good resources.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I mean, I kind of feel like in a lot of ways school may go away. Like college may not be a thing in the future.
I have a big argument against you there, Neil. I hear you, and I've learned, God knows, a shit ton of stuff just by reading it online, no problem. But I've had teachers who have changed my way of thinking within their first few words. I've had people come into a room who are teachers who are put in that environment face to face who changed my life completely.
100%.
Because of what they did, you know. And that's very different. You're not going to get that reading a fucking thing in a book. You know,
Well,
you will a little bit, but you're not going to get that inflection. You're not going to get that person's personal touch with it. You're not going to get any of that. Granted, what you say is true. I get that, and probably they'll build a fucking robot that'll be just like a person one day. They'll be able to do that for you too.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you know, if we're even like that anymore. But I
Yeah.
will say, it's not the same. I'd rather have if I had employees, I'd rather them been taught by real people who are masters at what they did and just trying to figure out a schematic from a book, which is cool, but I think there's a big difference.
Yeah. And I feel like one of the main, at least for me, and, you know, and it could just be where I'm at currently, you know, where like I don't necessarily see the return on investment on the educational aspect of like, you know, the value of my degree. But I will say, like, I think the experience of me being in college and like, especially for the fact that I stayed on campus,
Right.
you know, and I high key, like, you know, if you don't have to go to a university, definitely don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's an expensive thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like if you are willing to spend that money, I'm like, most definitely at least spend a couple of years like on camp, like spend at least a year on campus, because especially I went to North Carolina A&T, and one thing that I did love about, and it's like it's probably just an in general college thing,
Yeah.
But one thing I did love about being there, it is kind of like it puts you in a bubble where it's just like you're around other people and you're like, all right, well, we have to somehow in this bubble figure out how we can create our own society, sort of like within the city, we creating our own society where it was like at A&T, it's like, bro, we had our own. You could literally live on campus at A&T and only have to leave campus to go grocery shopping.
Right.
You know, because it was like, bro, it was someone, bro, if you didn't have any more meal swipes, bro, it was somebody somewhere on campus selling breakfast plates or selling, you know, fruit bowls for people who didn't, you know, have time to go to the caf or didn't have, you know, whatever dining dollars to go to this, that, and the third. Oh, you got a couple of bucks? Hey, well, you know what? I actually made this. Oh, you don't got to go to the mall. It's people at A&T that make clothes. So it's like just being in that environment of like, oh, we can really you can do a lot of stuff on your own and be successful with it. And just being in that environment, being around those type of people who, like I said, were probably on that same caliber of like, well, I'm going to just do this. And I'm in an environment where no one can really tell me no. Right. And I'm also in an environment where everybody else around me, or at least the majority of people around me, are also at least attempting to be on, you know, the same level. And I feel like that, just being in that environment really helped me understand like business, really helped me. Because I was not a business major. You know, I initially was trying to get a minor in marketing, but then I realized I was like, yo, just like interacting with everybody else that is trying to start a business at A&T, and then being able to see some of the success stories, really. Because there are people where it's like you guys ever heard like the Pish Posh line? They're like you've heard of Pish Posh? Mm-hmm. Like, it's like she was an A&T student. We were at A&T like in the same time. Actually, I had initially tried to get her on the podcast, but like literally like around the time that I had hit her up, that was when it started like. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm left in the dust right now. But also it's like, yo, like I literally just saw you on campus, and now you got your own fashion shows in Europe and stuff. So it's kind of like even though we didn't necessarily have like that like a real, I would say, meaningful interaction, it was just like that level of, you know, ambition, that, you know, that type of person was so accessible to me, towards just like, you know, she was really just a text message away at one point in time. And then like, and it's kind of like, oh, it's like, bro, these are people that I relate to. These are people that I, you know, feel like I'm associated with. And it's like, oh, well, if they can make that happen, I can for sure make whatever I want to make happen. So in that aspect, I do think college was a very valuable thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, what I taught it, what I saw, what you're saying right there, I think is the best thing that can be gleaned from college. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, we're being trained to be employees and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But the one thing helpful that I got from it was you don't have your parents like with you behind your back every step of the way. Some kids do, but you know, you're pushed out there to kind of exist or float or fail. Yeah,
really get to become
on
yourself.
Your own. Yeah. So I was awkward as hell my first semester of college, but I kind of figured it out after a while and stuff, and it was good for me socially because I was a really painful, horrible introvert. Yeah, and that really, it just changed completely.
Yeah. I was the same way, and even now, like, I'm still an introvert, but college definitely made it, like, it's easier for me to socialize because of college. Yeah. Because even before, it was kind of like the only time that I really socialized with people when I first got to college was, like, parties.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then it was just like, oh, I felt, to an extent, I almost felt like I had to be in this environment or, you know, in some sort of intoxicated state of mind to have the ability to talk to people. Yeah. And then, like, slowly, it's like, once you're like just in this environment and you're being introduced to all these different personalities. And also one thing, going to A&T, it confirmed in my mind like how, you know, just diverse like minds can really be.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, when you go to like I went to a regular public high school, and it's kind of like, yeah, there's different people, but like for the most part, everybody's kind of the same, if I'm being honest. Yeah. It's like we all, like, because it's like all of our parents live here. Most of our parents either work for the same company or like all of our parents work for like the same small like number of companies. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unless they own their own business. And even then it's just like we are all like, everybody thinks the same around here.
Well, high school is structured in a very controlled way, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a lot of freedom or ability to think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're sort of confined to that structure, and also in a public school especially, you have a lot of other dynamics that affect that experience too. Which you have people that may not like you, or you have people that are bullies.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of different adverse issues to deal with within that structure. Whereas when you get to college, you're an independent adult.
Yeah.
And you're treated that way. They tell you if you need to leave, just leave. You don't have to ask.
Yeah.
You're here because you want to be here, and that's a good thing about college. And just to clarify about what I was saying about college going away, I do think that's an important experience.
I didn't have that experience, by the way, with my college, by the way. I don't think everybody has that experience, Jesse.
No, I know that.
No, yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I know.
Because that teacher you're talking about, I've had a few of those,
Yeah.
like on one hand,
Yeah.
and they changed my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
90% of the teachers, 95%
Right.
of the teachers, I didn't have that experience.
Right. Well, I
But-
think that's an accurate kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was probably like four on one hand, like
Yeah.
4 of the powerful ones.
Yeah.
But then there was a certain, there was also certain criteria we had to carry. We had to kind of, there's a lot of things going back from, I wish they had taught me this and that, but I think that's anything in
Oh,
life.
yeah.
But I did get to see real people there struggling with it, teaching and,
Yeah.
and doing with that. I agree. I don't disagree with you, Neil. I think it is going to go away. Maybe I'm a little bit sad to see it go away.
Well, I don't know it's going to go away in that way. And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is I love to learn. I'm constantly reading and learning new things.
You're an autodidact.
Yeah, and I took some classes at Arizona State University last year just because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's good to, you find someone that's teaching something, they're an expert in that topic, and you can learn from them. And you can. That's the beautiful thing about our minds, about being human, is that we can take someone's life work and they can just give it to you.
Yeah.
Like you can read their book and listen to their lectures and study their work and learn it really quickly. And we're able to replicate that information. That's why technology and the growth of technology is exponential, because it's millions of minds working together, to create these things and to evolve. And but what I was saying with college being, there's a few things wrong with college. Number one is it's very expensive, and
Too expensive.
and the reason it's so expensive is because you have the university system works with the banking system, with these loan companies to give college loans, and it's beneficial for the college rate to go up, so the loans can be more expensive because the loan companies can make more money from the students, and it's really kind of crazy what people are paying for certain degrees.
Yeah.
They're going to spend the rest of their lives paying off these
off.
college loans, and you can't even file bankruptcy against those loans.
Yeah, and and that's part of the reason why I'm glad, because for a while I was like, maybe I want to go to like grad school, something like that.
Yeah.
Because for a while I was looking at trying to apply to like Cal Arts or something like that and go through their media program, like their
Yep.
media design program or interactive media and stuff. And then it's like, it is kind of like, why am I paying this much money when all they're going to do is give me homework assignments I can give to myself?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it is kind of like, I don't think if I didn't go to college, I don't think I would have grasped the fundamentals of, graphic design, or even of using the Adobe, any of the Adobe softwares and stuff like that.
Well, I think you could.
Yeah.
But-
Well,
yeah.
I am kind of a person where it's like, I like to take a class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I do feel like I benefit from a structured learning environment.
Yeah.
I like it too. Yeah.
Have you seen what they're doing though? So they're starting to. Have you guys heard about this? Like, so some of the Harvard professors that I've
know what
like
you're
I
saying,
said, taken
yeah.
classes. What they're kind of pushing back, but what's going on is the schools are owning their material.
Yeah.
So so some of the professors, I'll watch some of these things, and I've had conversations with some of them, and some of them have written some books and things. I think they're very intelligent, but what's going on is the school is saying that they own that
book.
production.
Yeah.
So what's going on is they're recording these classes, right? And they're reselling it over and over and over and over again, and they own it. They own it forever.
Yeah. But hasn't it always been the case though? Because isn't like even if you're doing research at a university, doesn't the university still?
No, I
own
mean,
the
I guess what
rights
I'm
to
saying
that?
is they can fire the professor
and still sell.
and still sell. They
Keep-
can,
They
they can keep using him, keep streaming him, or her, and keep
not pay
selling it and not pay that because they own it.
Yeah,
it's
that's
their
messed up.
it's their intellectual property.
Damn.
So it's them. It's their recording. And it's them in a class. It's their material. It's them speaking. It's their likeness. Literally, like
Well, that goes back to what I was saying too. So I think there's different types of people that learn in different ways.
Yeah.
And some people need the structure of a college or a class.
yeah.
Some people don't. Some people can just read all the books and they know all the information and they're good to go. And also you have certain situations where you have doctors, lawyers, and certain professionals that you
Yeah.
need them to have some type of credential showing that they definitely understand what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
qualified. You don't
Yeah.
want doctors with no degrees.
Yeah.
But as far as entrepreneurs and people like us, we don't have to have these degrees. We just need to have the knowledge to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
But as far as like what you're talking about and with online classes and stuff like that, you can, if you need to learn something, you can still learn it in a structured way through that type of a class or that type of a program. But I think in the future, some of this stuff will be provided, and it's already starting. You have master class and stuff like that. You'll be able to start taking classes without having to go to a university to learn the skills you need to know to do what you're doing. And I think even beyond that, I think we're going to see a lot of educational programs through VR. And then eventually, I mean, it's very likely at the end of this decade, technology will start to merge with us. Like we'll start to merge with the technology. It'll start to be in our heads. And then we'll have access to unlimited amounts of information. Definitely by 2040,
Yeah.
we'll probably be directly connected to the internet through our brains.
I think the whole sense of purpose thing is going to be rocking our minds then, because which I don't think it's a bad thing, but it just is like, well, then what do? You have all
Jesse-
this stuff at your fingertips.
Jesse, we need
What
to
do
buy
you
a
do?
couple
Also, I feel like that's
thousand acres
also-
and just check out.
There's no way to comprehend that type of
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then also, I feel like that's also dangerous just in a sense because, yeah, you have access to all the information, but you also have access to all the misinformation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know
well,
what I mean?
I think it'll be easier to
Hopefully.
know what's what because you'll
Yeah.
it'll
See,
all
I'm
be
like,
there.
we all think that, but then yet there's still fake news
I
that
agree.
people wholeheartedly
Well,
believe right now.
I think today though,
Very true.
I think we have access to so much knowledge and information we don't know how to sift through it or process it properly because it's so quick. Like
Yeah.
the advancement of information is so rapid. 20 years ago, we didn't have access to information like we do today. Not even close.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting better at sifting through the information. But I think as AI improves, and then when we start to merge with AI, I don't think it'll even be a question. And also, we'll have the ability at that point to share experiences and information, and we won't be able to lie to each other anymore.
Yeah.
It'll,
Ain't that a bitch?
Hold on, you ready for this? I'm going to give you a sports analogy. I'm not going to do it justice. I'm going to tell you what current day fake news is. Someone double dribbles, whistle blows, right? We have evidence of double dribbling. And the news says there's no evidence of widespread double dribbling in the NBA.
Widespread. Double dribble.
Right, because the point becomes they won't admit that there was double dribbling.
Mm-hmm.
The fact there's double dribbling doesn't change the game.
Yeah.
It's that one occurrence of double dribbling. But instead of saying that admitting to double dribbling, they say there's no evidence of widespread double dribbling. Like, I hate fake news.
Yeah.
It does a disservice no matter what
Clickbait,
side
yeah.
you're on.
Yeah.
Right? Because the problem is that we're unwilling to acknowledge anything that's wrong with your party, like my party or
Yeah.
your part, whoever's party. It's like this tribalism has taken full effect, and the news is unwilling to acknowledge any misstep.
Yeah.
Even if the misstep itself, like a double dribble, doesn't necessarily change the outcome of the result of the game. It's just something that happened. Just like an individual shot was made or missed, right? It's going to be like, well, there's no evidence of widespread shots being missed. Like, I mean, like it irritates me.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
but
and even
we're
like,
all connected though.
yeah. So this fake news thing bothers
that
me.
player could just be like, no, I didn't double dribble. Here's my experience,
yeah.
and you just
Upload it.
experience
Yeah. Let me upload it for
Oh
you.
yeah.
See, and
So,
and I feel like, and I guess in a way, yeah, I think that would be so beneficial to society because even like last night, for example,
Oh,
it's just
man.
like a lot of people talking about this is, shameful to this party, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. It's not just shameful to this party. It's shameful for everybody that this is happening.
For human
I'm
race.
like, like this is a shameful thing. You know what I mean?
It's a dangerous thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, don't put a label on who this should be shaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in a way, this is all on us. This is on all of us. You know.
Yeah.
In a way, we allow things to get this way.
And we have a media network that or a whole media system
that incentivizes it,
thrives and encourages this behavior
Yeah.
because they kill it when it happens. Like they made so much money.
Yeah.
Because everyone is watching their channels.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
Facebook
streaming.
got so much. Facebook, Twitter, so much traffic.
Oh,
last
yeah.
night.
Oh, yeah.
They made
So
a
much
ton of money,
traffic.
yeah.
And see, we as leaders of our companies, like the buck stops with us, right? So
Yeah.
like if there's a misstep underneath me, directly underneath me, I've got to take some responsibility for that, right?
Yeah.
As a leader should, right? It's not solely on that person because I've missed it. I've allowed it to take place. I'm the one guiding the ship. Like, I've got to take some responsibility, and I feel like that is missing too. Like you should. I can take responsibility for bad things that happen and say that, this is something as a leader that I should have better prepared for, that I need to handle my response differently. I don't like how that doesn't take place currently. I don't like the fake news. And I mean for all sides.
Yeah.
Actually, almost all news I don't like. Almost all of it.
I agree with
because
that.
I feel like I just want the news to be straight.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me the information, that I need to
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Like literally blow by blow, play by play. I don't like the biases that come in. Like I just
They used to call that editorials, and it was this tiny little place with regular news. You'd have the editorial, and you get a little bit of an opinion.
Yeah.
And now it's almost all wall-to-wall
Yeah.
editorial.
It's all
Opinions.
marketing now.
Yeah. Because
because some of the people that say that are pro, some of the people that are out there yesterday, right? What they're saying, here's the problem is it's extreme. But what they feel like is they have evidence of something that was wrong, whatever, right? Like 10,000 votes, 5,000 votes, 100 votes, whatever it was, one vote. There is evidence of election fraud on some level.
Always.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't change anything, but there's some evidence of it, and it's always been. There's always forever,
in every election.
not just today,
Yeah.
not just this election, right? The problem is nobody will acknowledge it, and it's infuriating this group
Yep.
because there is evidence of it, and instead of saying, well, yeah, it was just the 6,000 votes that were accidentally switched, there's no evidence. It's this play, this twist, and
Yep.
it's further infuriating. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying that they should be. I'm just saying that's what's happening because
Yeah.
I hear them talking, like and I hear different people. I'm around people of all sides. I'm open. I welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like that's how it should be. You should everybody should have an ever evolving perspective of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even I don't identify with any political party.
I don't either.
Me
And
neither.
really, and even a lot of times I'm like, well, to be honest, everybody would agree on it if we didn't phrase things a certain way.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
completely. I agree with that completely.
Me personally, I think everybody should have access to some sort of health care.
Yeah.
But we always throw out the term free, and I'm like, it's not free. It has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it is less of a, oh, this is free, and more so of, do you care enough
Yeah.
about the person next to you, whether you know them or not? Do you care enough about the person next to you? Do you care enough about the person on the other side of the country that might be struggling? Do
Yeah.
you care enough to give an extra few, whatever, just to make sure everybody's good?
Well, that's the problem with our monetary system. If we change the way we viewed the value of the currency, that wouldn't be a problem. Everyone could have health care, everyone could have education. It would all be available.
Because we would see a shift in where we send our money.
Yeah.
If you want a better society, you have to have better people. Why would we not invest
In our people.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
There's so much money and government waste and bullshit. I get we need to help there's other causes we need to help, but I have a problem with helping all these other countries, and we're not helping our own country.
See,
Yeah.
Like we got starving kids in America, right? And I don't talk a lot about this, but
High Point, North Carolina is one of the biggest food deserts.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's there. I'm like, there's right
well,
here.
the poverty in Greensboro and High Point, North Carolina is 21%, which is really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, and it is kind of like I've always kind of felt it's like, why do we care, but it's kind of like, it sucks that that's happened, but it's like, bro, there's so much that's going on right under our noses.
Yeah, we gotta help. We gotta help here. Like I always tell people when they want to help other people, I always say you have to help yourself first, because if you take everything that you've got and you help everybody else today and you don't help yourself, you won't be able to help anybody else in the future. And so, like, for me, I got to take care of me first, and me first means I got to make sure I'm fed. Like, I got to survive, right? And I need to make sure that I'm working towards something. But if you do that delayed gratification long enough, like, you know, I help 1,500 families for Thanksgiving. I do in Charlotte. I've done this for several years where, you know, and right now school's not in, but, you know, on Friday, from Friday at lunch to Monday morning at breakfast, there are thousands, like 13, 14,000 kids, right? And this is an old statistic, that didn't eat from Friday at lunch at school till Monday morning at breakfast at school.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? So we did like basically it was like backpacks for the weekend, but it was like bags, and it would be like basic stuff like the macaroni that you can heat up in the microwave, right?
Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly, like just basic things, right? And you always pack extra because guess what? That child probably has a sibling.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. And so like things like that, like I agree with you. You're like, hey, if we word things a certain way, like I don't know many people that if I didn't say, look, there's starving children, right? You can contribute your time, right?
Yeah.
Your effort, your energy, or how about a few bucks just to help pack, you know, for you know, $20, man, I could probably pack, you know, 10 kids bags for the weekend.
Yeah.
You feed 10 kids over the weekend, man. Like if it's done a certain way, I think you're exactly right. You're going to get a lot more people that are open to do it. But instead, it's turned into, it's just like this divisive thing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the difference between understanding money as a tool and then cherishing money as something that's like, because like I said, I don't hoard money.
Yeah.
Because it's like I understand that first off, and I think even you told me this, like your money loses like 3 to 5% of its value.
Your money actually is
there.
designed to go down in value, just so you know. It's designed. I think it's a 40-year system, but the developers of it have designed it to devalue. It's part of the system.
Yeah. So like, and so even like, you know, even just like, just trying to like, I feel like if everybody could even understand that, we can understand, you know, how money can really be used. Because it's like, well, if it's already going to go down in value and it's already kind of not real.
The problem is there's not enough money.
Yeah.
The way we currently value it, if you divided it amongst all the people, there's not enough. It'd be very little per person.
Yeah.
And my idea about looking at people as assets instead of liabilities, it wouldn't just help this country; it would help the whole world.
Yeah.
It would spread.
You could take all the money that what's the population of the United States?
330 million.
Okay. So, how much money is Bezos worth right now? 200 million? 200 billion?
180 something.
But
I think the whole GDP of the country is probably 20 trillion or something. 18 trillion.
Well, I'm just saying, let's take all 200 billion of his, and how many people are there?
330 million.
I'm just curious.
It's not much. What, $200
$606 each.
600.
Yeah.
So if we took Bezos, the wealthiest person in America, and maybe one of the wealthiest people in the world, one of the wealthier people in the world, every American would get $606 if you took every penny he has. And the point here is, and this is the example of socialism doesn't work. Taking from wealthy does not solve the problem. There is an inherent issue. There is not enough money. You could take the top 500 wealthiest people in America, all billionaires, and take all of their money and give it to everybody.
It's not going to solve any problems.
And instead of being, it's going to be, and let's just use dumb math here. If he's the richest and he's worth $600 to every American, $600, times that by 500. The other ones, it goes down in value, so this is not a real number. But times that, let's times that by, say, even 400. You know, we're talking about every American, and it should scale down. What are we talking about, 200K each? Right? So if you took the 500 wealthiest people, their companies, everything, you just split them up.
And a lot of that wealth is not cash either.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
but you could take everything, everybody, and you
most
go.
of it is just estimated company wealth, business wealth.
Yeah.
But you take all that money and you go, okay, well, here's $200,000, right? How long does that last?
Yeah. See, because that's all. Because it's kind of like, well, how are we going to keep?
Yeah, I mean, how I don't know what you make a year, right? But imagine.
I don't either. I'm literally, this is the first year I'm actually going to keep track.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you think about it, you go, it's not a solution to take from others, and that's like that analogy. Everybody thinks like, oh, you know, he should give more. Well, he could only, if he gave everything he had, he could only give every person $600.
Yeah.
If he gave everything he had.
And that's
It's
a
not.
stimulus
It's not a
check.
solution.
And that's a
why-
stimulus check, which is not enough.
Yeah, that's why socialism won't work.
Yeah.
That's why you can't tax the solution. The solution is not taxing people. The solution is creating a monetary system that is more valuable, where every job has a decent amount of value to it. So if you're a cashier at a gas station, you're still making enough of a wage to feed your family and have a life. Or if you want to open businesses and be really successful and you have a lot of ambition, you can be as successful as you want to be. You could be under that type of a monetary system. I would be much wealthier than I am today.
I got
Yeah.
a question for you, Neil. Like, we've talked a lot about this. I love the idea,
Yeah.
but how do you convince a whole society of a whole world of billions of people that this is the better way to be and we
Well,
should do this?
You know that earlier.
That's
Conquest,
that's my
domination.
one problem
Well,
with what you got to say.
Well, you know, earlier when I talked about ideas,
Yeah.
right? And when I was talking about how when someone comes up with a great idea, they have a scientific breakthrough. Well, at the same time they had that idea, there were many other people that had the same idea.
Right.
They just didn't get there first.
Yeah.
But these ideas are not my ideas.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
inspired by millions of other people's ideas.
Sure.
They're just building up in my brain.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other people having these same ideas right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard a lot of podcasts recently where people are expressing these same ideas after I've been talking about them for a
That happens
year.
to me all the
And
time.
so other people are thinking about these same things. So the idea is out there.
So the idea,
The seeds are being planted. They just have to grow.
so the idea is to keep talking about it,
Yes.
and after a while, the egg will crack.
All things that are in existence came from ideas.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
fair enough.
So
And because even like I've experienced that, especially with comedy, where it'll be like,
well, you see a lot in comedy.
bruh,
A lot of similar.
JD, I be wanting JD and Dayhaj are two people that I just be wanting to fight because literally, like, I don't know what it is about the three of us comedically and Trundy, but Trundy's like the
Yeah.
like the what do you call it?
A guru.
The common ancestor
Oh,
yeah.
of of our like entire comedic identity. So it'd be like between the three of us, it's like I will literally have been writing. I'll be writing on a premise for like 3-4 days, and then I'm so excited Thursday that I'm finna try this. JD goes up before me, and then JD literally just almost word for word said what I wrote down.
That's funny.
And then I talked to him about it, and then I'm just like, well, I'm just going to give you the tags that I was going to use. So, boom. And it's like, and that's kind of like the whole part of like collaborating as far as like creatives. It's because
Yeah.
kind of like we both were on the same track, but it's like, oh, you just executed way better. But how can I still contribute my,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
my
I see a lot of,
interpretation and
I
stuff
see a
like
lot
that. Mm-hmm.
of comedians have similar bits, but they're not the same thing. It's not like they're
Yeah.
stealing from each other. They just have similar premises, and they
Yeah, similar experiences, to be honest.
yeah, we're all experiencing the same life or the
Yeah.
same world, you know. So we're gonna have similar. I have a bit that I've been working on for a few weeks, but the first or maybe the second time I brought it up, Lucas Gumbrick went up before me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lucas. And
What's up, Lucas?
but he had like my premise was on vaccines. Well, he had a bit that had a premise on vaccines too, which was a very different take on it, but it's a similar topic. So when I went up, I was like, oh, if you guys didn't know, this is Vaccine Appreciation Week, you know, or Vaccine Awareness Week or something, you know. But it's funny that you see that a lot, and I've seen who's that? Who's the guy from Tennessee? The comedian from Tennessee.
Mo. We're talking about Mo Alexander.
No, can't think of his name. He has a really strange accent too. He's a white dude.
From Tennessee. Is he like around here?
No, I think he was in New York for a long time. I think he's back in Tennessee now, like the Nashville area. Really good comic.
I'll try.
But anyway, he has a bit that's really similar to one of Joe Rogan's bits. Like they both have a bit on tigers, and they're both really funny, but they're different. You know,
Yeah.
they're very similar, but they're also very different, and they're both hysterical.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like that with everything, though. I mean, we see it in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a business idea. You'll see 100
100
other
of
business ideas that are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost even down to the name.
It's
so
almost
upset.
like
Yeah.
it's almost like we're all just.
Hey, you want to test that? We were coming up with names for the companies we consult for yesterday. Mm-hmm. We were doing name creation, and how many names did we come up with that already existed?
Oh yeah, that's kind of yeah. When, I,
In
when
the
I'm
same
trying to help
similar
someone,
field, similar thing, exact same names.
Same
Yeah.
thing with
Yeah.
podcasts. I'm developing. I haven't told you guys. I'm developing
Hey.
some other podcasts, and get the names I had thought of. Of course, they're already
Yeah.
taken.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I just start. I've gotten to this point where I was like, bro, like if I change spelling and then I become bigger than them, what are they gonna do? Like if I just, instead of CS, I'm just gonna put an X,
Punctuation's
and now it's
nice.
mine.
Well, it's another reason we should base the value of our currency or a big portion of it on
Yeah.
individuals, because that's where everything comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And to come back, circle back, where I know we're wrapping up, but this is, I don't think children and I don't want children in the world starving. Period.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
But
yeah.
but I don't. I gotta help. I gotta make sure my kids don't starve first. That's
Right.
my first obligation, right? And every
Yeah.
parent, it's sad. Every parent should make sure their children aren't starving.
Yeah,
and they're gonna
100%.
eat before I eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Period.
always. Yeah.
And then from that, I want to work within my neighborhood or within my city, and then within my state.
Communities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start with that community and work your way out. Right?
Yeah.
We got to solve problems like that. And if every community took that approach, and every county and every city and every state, and it was, I think that we shouldn't have starving kids. We shouldn't have people that really need medical help that
Yeah.
can't get it. Right? I agree with a lot of this stuff, and I think most rational people would say that. And if you can have the conversation when we don't have these defensive walls up.
Yeah.
Like where it's this party system bullshit. I
Yeah.
think that they would agree, right?
Yeah.
There are exceptions. I know homeless people that are homeless by choice, right?
Yeah.
I know drug addicts that they tell you at this point in their life they don't want help. They like what they're doing, right? I know I know people that they agree with the way that I live my life. They think that their way of life is the right way. It's not my place to tell them otherwise.
Yeah.
Right? But that's okay. But those aren't the people I'm talking about. The people that want to eat, right? The people that want to live some sense of normalcy, they should have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely, and that's not a party thing. That's I'm a human being.
Yeah. And I think part of I guess, because I feel like, the internet in general, I feel like I'm a firm believer of most things are inherently good.
Yeah.
Like most things are created to help somebody. It's just whether that idea falls into the hands of somebody who might not want the best for other people.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I think
That's what I think the party system and politics and stuff like that is designed to divide people, so
Yeah.
certain people can stay powerful.
and I think one thing as far as the internet, where it's you can kind of, I think I had to told someone it's almost it's starting to become an ideological tribalism.
Yes.
To where now it's just now you're removing yourself from taking responsibility of the actual community that you're a part of.
Yeah.
Because now you're just well, I don't believe what most of the people around me believe, therefore this is all on them, versus, well, I'm actually still a part of this community. Actually, these people affect me more than those people that I really meet on the internet.
Right.
Because it's at the end of the day, it's if I log off and I don't log back on, I don't interact with these people.
Yeah.
But every day when I go get gas, go to the store, want something to eat, these are the people I have to interact with. And it's kind of how can we go from taking that same pride in your ideology to it's reverting that back into well, I still want to take pride and responsibility of my geographic community, as well as still being able to contribute on the internet. I feel we just kind of abandoned our whole geographic community for our internet ideological echo chamber communities.
Well, I think the whole country is a community,
Yeah.
and I think we're all connected.
It's a large community. We got to start from the end and work our way out. I agree.
Yeah.
But I think we're all connected in this whole community, and I think the key is in our Constitution is actually it does a really good job of this. I think that our individual rights are very important, and that's you don't need religion to have that.
Yeah.
You just have to have respect for other people.
Yeah.
And we need to respect each other's rights. It shouldn't matter what you do as long as you're not hurting other people. We don't need laws to control people's lives. We need laws to just make the system operate.
Yeah.
And then we need people to respect each other. And also you need opportunities, because if people are raised in a situation where they have no opportunities, they're in poverty, they have a terrible existence, their value for life is going to be lower than people that are doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to fix those problems. But as long as we have these party wars and you have all these other distractions, we can't solve those issues. Because if we did solve that issue, our society would be incredibly successful as a whole.
Yeah.
Like our innovation and creativity and everything would just thrive and go through the roof. And I think we'll get there, but we're not there yet.
How important, like, to you guys, do you think collaboration is?
Very important.
Because
everything's collaboration.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think I've started to see more people wanting to do things on their own than really want to. COVID is kind of like, you see some people kind of like switch, back to like, collaborate, like being more.
Most of the stuff we do is collaboration.
Yeah.
I love collaborating on things. Now, what you have to do is understand who you're partnering with, what the goals are. You got to clearly define who's doing what and what's going to take place up front. You were talking about your partnership already and how do you compete with a company that's been around 60 years. I'm going to tell you, be around 60 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
right?
true.
You want to win.
Yeah.
Persist, exist, persist. You gotta push in a direction over an extended period of time. Get people on your team that are doing that.
But
Yeah.
you can also study what they've done over that 60 years and
That's
do it
right.
in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or
100%.
5.
Yeah, it's exponential because you have access to everything they've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I love collaborations. I think that life is about alliances, and I don't mean this in a negative way. Like I want this is not about I want people like me. This is about I want people in general.
Yeah.
Right. And you may have a specific skill set
Yeah.
that I don't, and the only way that I benefit is by helping you get the best out of that. So, like my deal in the partnership with you would be me providing a platform for you to be more successful quicker. I've got to bring something too, right? And I can't bring your skills because I don't have those. So I've got to bring a financial. I've got to bring support. I've got to bring some other thing.
Yeah.
And you got to find those things.
Yeah, because that's my whole thing about like how like employment has changed to where it's kind of like, I mean, you're hiring people because you need people who can do what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like when I apply for that job, why am I not being treated as someone that is an asset? You know what I mean? Because like even like I've been in interviews where it's just kind of like, I mean, yeah, I need a job, but also you need a designer or whatever.
Yeah.
You need someone to work on these designs for you, and it's kind of like, it's almost like I feel like if we approach employment as more of collaborative opportunity, at least like for me, because I mean I worked in the creative field.
Well,
I guess
if
that's
you're
more so.
self-employed, you can demand a higher rate
Yeah.
for your work
Well,
than
and-
if you're an employee.
And as you're self-employed and as you start your own businesses, you should keep those things in mind. And what you're really talking about is a way for the people that are doing the work to benefit directly when things go well. The problem I'm going to tell you, because I've experienced this personally, is that people only want to participate when it's well.
Yeah.
They don't want to participate when it's not, and this is the difference. Businesses still have to be solvent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They need reserves. They need to operate. And the problem is the employee mindset typically is they only want to participate in the growth of the company, not in the losses of the company.
Yeah.
So you can't have both. Right? You can't say I want to only participate when it wins and not
Yeah.
when it loses. So, but as you develop in your own thing, if you can get that mindset and get your team, which actually it's funny you mentioned that, we have our core team. That's the plan we have. That's what we have. They share in the growth. They share an opportunity. They share.
Yeah.
Now, when things go bad, and you have to be very direct up front, they also share in that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the negative, right? But I struggle finding employees, I'm using this this term broadly, that want that level of responsibility or ownership, honestly. But when I find someone like you, what it tells me is you're not designed to be an employee.
Yeah.
Now, and being employed, having a contract, right, and you have more control, it's just it's a different title, but really what we're talking about is level of control and level of the creativity and what you can bring, and you're providing a service. It's just got to be structured a little differently because you're not going to work well in that environment.
Yeah.
Right? And so you just got to figure out how you work, but not everybody's like you.
Yeah.
And I love to give opportunity to people, but I'll tell you, we've done that very thing. I've got a person, I'm not going to say who it is, and where we gave an opportunity to, a great opportunity, and
Many people.
the stress.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about this one
I know what
specific.
you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, the stress of it. He was ready to quit, like overnight.
Wow.
Like he basically just came to us, and I respect this. He's like,
Yeah.
look, I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want a higher level. I want to do exactly what I'm doing for you, and I want to go home and forget about it.
Yeah. And I think, and that is what kind of why.
And that's fine.
And it is actually,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Some people want the minutia of 40 years at the same career.
Yeah.
And I want to give all the ones that don't, I want to give them an opportunity for a different path.
Mm-hmm.
But just like the janitor is important, the CEO is important, like every position is important. Somebody's got to do the work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to really, so the other side of that is we try to really take care of, our team and our staff. And, like we've got a lot of our businesses, all the food and snacks and drinks with the bar.
But we can only pay them so much. And
That's true.
Yeah.
that's part of the value of the currency is not the currency is not valuable enough because those people could do much better.
Yeah. See, yeah, and I guess like you said, it could just be like the way I
I
think.
respect the way you think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an awesome plan. But would you be willing to do that with the company when they're losing money? Would you be willing to work for less, right? And if you'd buy into that, because what you may not see, and I don't know the specific interest, but let's say that my price on this phone is $1,000 and my hard cost on the phone is $200. You're going, they're making $800, right? And if you're the guy that sells the phone and you get a $50 commission for selling it, you're like, well, wait a second, they're making $750. I did all the work.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is the marketing cost, the
Yeah,
legal
yeah,
cost, the budget. You don't see the lease, the power. So when we really talk about hard costs and dial things down, what an employee thinks I'm making and what we're actually making are very different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then Walmart, they do 4%.
Which is crazy.
4% of Walmart's entire losses. They plan for 4% out the gate.
Yeah.
So Walmart's
That's very smart.
Yeah, check this out. Their margin of profit is less than 4%. So literally, they plan, obviously it's on top of that, but they plan for a 4% loss. Their margin of profit sometimes is 1.7%. So they've got a 5.7% spread and 4% of that they're planning on getting stolen, right? And look how profitable they are. So you've got this 1.7%, but everybody would say, oh, Walmart underpays their people. It's actually very delicate. It takes a lot of money to make that work. There's a lot of people that have jobs. There's the tractor trailers. I mean, if you think about everything that goes into running a Walmart and all the expenses that come, the margin is very small. The difference is they're making 1.6, 1.7%, but across millions of transactions.
And most of those jobs will be gone in 10 or 20 years.
So it's like I agree with you, but it's a delicate thing. It's like, how much of that's really profit?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I definitely understand that because I've always, I
agree with your thing, but it's just not. It may not be what you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely understand that now.
Yeah. But I like the concept, and I would encourage you. You should definitely take that mentality with your people because if you get people that are willing to work like you are, that are willing to buy into that, I'll tell you that most of the time you don't lose money.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're putting forth a product that's in demand, you're providing a service or a product that's in demand, and you are good at what you do on some level, right? You should. If you're not making money, it means you're not priced appropriately.
Yeah.
Right, and that's an easy thing to resolve, right? And so I think majority of the time you would, but there will be these times where, for whatever reason, a business experiences some burden that they didn't plan for.
Yeah.
And during that window, that's when you'll see that people,
We're ready to skate.
Yeah, they're gone, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay, but that's the difference in owning the business and being employed by the business. Like, do you want the responsibility when things are bad?
Yeah, and I guess that's something I've experienced and maybe not have thought about in that way, because it's like when I first started, the first time I started trying to sell T-shirts, it was kind of like everybody's on board with the idea of selling T-shirts, but no one was on board with the idea of buying the press, or even taking the time to design it.
100%.
So it was kind of like, oh well, I see like even just up front, a lot of people aren't willing to, take any sort of loss for gain.
I can't remember the statistic. I'm not going to do it justice, but something like 90% of all small businesses fail in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the other side of this, though. If you have a fail rate of 9 out of every 10 are going to fail, right? But do employees want to fail 9 out of 10 times, or do they want to get their paycheck?
Yeah.
Right. So like it's like this whole. I fully like what you're talking about. It's just how do you accomplish that and get the employees, get your team to buy into it.
Yeah, because I guess like my ideal partner, employee, collaborator, whatever, it's kind of like I want that person to wake up with the same passion.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, that I have for what we're going to do. Because even like when I do stuff and it's like I might like subcontract something to somebody else, And it's like, yo, I understand this person has their own life. Even my business partner, I'm like, yo, like you have your own life. You have a job.
Yeah.
I'm saying you have a job because of whatever your personal circumstances are. I understand that you might not even have the same amount of time available that I have.
Right, yeah.
Because your responsibilities might be completely different than me.
Right.
I really only got to take care of myself and my girl has a job, and work, and fuck, where was I going with this? But it is kind of like,
I think kind of what you're getting at too is Neil and I work really well together.
Yeah.
We have a lot of very similar strengths, but we're vastly different people, actually, right? But we have a lot of similar strengths, a lot of similar things, right? And we're both very open-minded, right? But there are times when, like you just said, like I'll get swamped.
Yeah.
He came in yesterday. He didn't have to, but he's like, yeah, man, I'll show. He had a ton of stuff going on. He came in. He got here at 12:30. He's like, because that's what time he said he'd meet. I was behind. I had 5,000 things going.
Yeah.
He helped me recenter and focus. Like at that moment. Because I'm confident in his ability, he took control. He's like, here's where we're at. And he started boom, 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 boom. And we got to the finish line, right? We did it together, right? That's your partner should be able to work independent of you, and you guys should be able to collaborate on things.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important, and there's some level of flexibility. But a partnership is just like, it's sometimes it's not going to be equitable at all times. It's not going to be you guys giving the same amount of effort. It does ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Just know that up front, right? But you're moving towards the same common goal.
Yeah. And I guess like that's the same thing where I guess it's like I want people who, because like I think part of me is kind of like, yo, it's selfish to try to get people to want to achieve my goals. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like, yo, this is my.
Well, you go back to there's a lot of different types of people, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that just want to have a job.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
And you as an entrepreneur, you need to
Find people
identify
who-
those people,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then give them a job.
Yeah. But like
But
I
just
said,
treat them well and give them a good
Yeah.
good opportunity.
yeah.
And some things like, and we're not a big company. We're not Google's or the Amazon. We're not any of those things, right? But like we give the gym access, we give the snacks and drinks and food and energy. Like I ask our staff, like, is there a certain drink that you really like?
Yeah.
Is there something that you personally like that we don't carry and we'll stock it? Right. And these are small things, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it adds up. It adds up, but these are small things where we're trying, right? Like we've got a ping pong table. Like you can't do this in every business, but we've got some things where they can have a minute, because like I'm dependent on the business. I'm less worried about the hours and more worried about the work getting done.
Yeah. That's me too.
And I think in the field that you're in, that you can very much be that, right? So you could be really creative about the opportunity. And, and I think you develop a culture where people buy into your goal, right? It's not about, I want them to accomplish my dreams. It's about I want them to buy into it, so this is part of their dream too.
Yeah, because even like with my business partner, I'm like, I even told him, because like I know his dream job is like he wants to be the creative director at Nike. Like ever since he was a kid, he was like, that's what I want to do. And it's like I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So it is for me. It's like not necessarily.
But you want to be the creative director of your business, your ad agency.
Yeah, like, I'm almost kind of like I want to. Yeah. I don't want to have an employer.
No.
Like at the most, I was like consulting. Like I was like that's kind of like when I'm kind of ready to just.
Yeah. Can you imagine the pressure and the stress of being the creative director at Nike?
Yo.
Fuck that, man.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
If I'm going to deal with that, I want to have my own business. I want it to be my issues.
Yeah, and like that's my thing, but I also understand it's like, that's like a guaranteed salary almost, you know what I mean? Pretty much it's a guaranteed salary versus this is like, hey, we might be up, we might be down, what's up? What's happening?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, I guess part of like not trying to get people to achieve my goals, but it's kind of like I want you to be able, in helping me, I want to somehow be able to help you like figure out what it is you want to do or achieve your goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to be as much of an asset to the people that work for me and with me as they are to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
so
typically as an employer, you kind of are. You're always the last person to get paid.
Yeah. I'll tell you. So I don't get paid unless we make money, right? So
I'm very much the same way.
There were years, right, where I didn't make money. Like literally, I remember when I started putting myself on a $500 a week salary. Like, you remember this? Like,
Yeah.
like, and I'm trying to, and I got 3 kids and a wife, and I'm like, and I mean, like, because like everything, the businesses took everything. I had staff members making, and they were valuable staff members. Some of them still making 30, 40 grand a year. Some were making 70, 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year, and I'm like excited about my $500 a week.
Yep.
Right. So this is the other thing. Like, I know people don't like. Certain people don't like that people get extremely wealthy. I admire that because normally there's Sam Walton says every overnight success is 20 years in the making, right? There's other people. If you look in 2008, when did Instagram come out? When did all these companies launch? They launched during some of the worst times in history, and they become multi-billion-dollar companies, right? A lot of these people worked in their garages. These weren't overpaid. These were people working for free, putting 100 hours a week in their garage, right?
Yep. That's what I was telling my business partner when he was just like, how are we going to compete or be on this level? I'm like, I mean, Apple and Google all started out in somebody's mom's garage.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's
and
like
most
right
of
now
these are
we're
by
in our,
college dropouts.
Yeah, and I'm like, we know we have, just for the fact that we graduated and we knew that we didn't have to graduate to do what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was like, that already shows that we have some level of execution intelligence.
100%.
We started something, we're going to finish something.
Yep.
And we're going to finish it at the highest level that we could possibly finish it. So I am kind of like, I mean, yeah, we're not there, but I'm like, if we start here.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, like, like I said, I'm not super, knowledgeable of like the background of the pentagrams and stuff, but I'm like, I know I don't have mommy and daddy money to fall back on.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very much so. My grandparents did a very good job with like, making sure that none of us would be ass out, like, because, my grandparents own property and stuff like that. So it's like, there's always somewhere to go if you completely ass out. You might not be in a location you want to be in, but there's, we have like, the family property and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, if I'm ass out, bro, that's on me.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
So,
I
and
don't
also
care
that
if you do it at the Silver Spoon. That's a weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
See,
weakness.
and that's
man.
another thing, because I've
Same
like,
here. Yeah.
my dad kicked me out one time.
Me, yeah.
And, and it was like just, and I was just, pretty much my dad kicked me out for not doing what he wanted me to do. Because I wanted to pursue my own creative entrepreneurial ventures. And he wanted me to, the reason I stayed in school was almost a compromise to move back in the house. But it was like, there was a time where it was just like, yo, I'm legit, I'm sleeping on people's floors. I had to have jobs at this point in time. And it's like, I don't have a car. I was like walking around. But I was just like, this was the best thing for me. Yeah. And even like now, it's like that was, 5-6 years ago. But it's like, even like I told my business partner, I was like, yo, I wake up every day like that was yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how much money I made yesterday. Like, I had 1 week where it's just like, yo, I made a month's worth of UPS checks in a week. And I was like, yeah.
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 But it's like, but the next week it's zero. The next week is zero because if I think about, I just made a month's worth, in a week, then it makes me feel like, I can just chill out for the next 3 weeks until next month when I got to come up with that same money again. I'm like, nah, it's zero again this week. You know, kind of still living with that. Like, yo, I was walking around, sitting outside of Chipotle, couldn't buy shit. That was yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, when you escaping poverty is great motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not going back to it.
Yeah. But also, I guess it is kind of like I know I could survive it. So now I'm like, if it happens again, I'm not necessarily.
It's empowering, man.
Right. Yeah.
No matter what situation you're thrown into, now you've figured out you can survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
Extremely valuable.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people run back to mommy and dad, and guess what? Over the last decade, they've continued to do that, and it's amazing what a disservice that they've done because the majority of them, almost all of them, have done nothing. They've accomplished nothing because they had such a safety net.
Yeah.
That they weren't properly motivated, right? They didn't have that feast of famine, right? And they've it's hurt them. It's been a deficiency for them.
Yeah.
So
because I think I watched like an older episode of you guys, and you had said something where you were kind of like, I could like everything could fail today. Tomorrow I'll get a job for 2-3 months, and then I will start over.
Yep.
Because it is kind of like, bro, it's kind of like, sure, 9 out of 10 fail, but you only need that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I agree.
Which we try to avoid that now, but
yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 of mine don't fail. But when you're looking across, and I think this is like work on your craft, right?
Yeah.
And I think that 9 out of 10 fail is not really necessarily a good statistic because here's why. because I'm an outlier. He's an outlier. You're an outlier because we have a higher success ratio than that. So what that really means is if you're part of the status quo, more than 9 out of 10 fail.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because I'm an outlier and I skew the number.
Yeah,
Right?
and then part of me is just like, I feel like 9 out of those
Yeah.
10 people quit before they could recover.
That's
100%.
true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
That's
A lot of people give up.
Why don't you make it to the NBA or the NFL or whatever? A lot of those people never get there because they quit. Because it's hard.
And I say the
road
same
ahead
thing
is
about
hard.
comedy.
Yeah.
The only people that don't make it are the people that quit.
That's exactly
You could have
it,
made
man.
it next week,
Man,
but
Liam
you quit this week.
Liam Neeson's the only actor I know recently, but he didn't even land his first role until he was, I think, he's in 50s.
Older
Like,
guy,
yeah, like
Rodney
like-
Dangerfield.
Yeah, Dangerfield,
Yeah.
same thing. KFC,
Morgan
man. Colonel
Freeman.
Sanders didn't start what till he's in his 60s.
Yeah.
Julia Child.
Yeah.
Famous Amos, bro. The
Yeah,
cookies.
Hey,
people.
yeah.
Like that
You
dude was
know.
mad old.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, it's like today's the best day to start and
Yeah.
invest in yourself. Don't blindly give money to people. Period. I don't care
Yeah.
how great they are. Invest in yourself first, right? And then I think I love Warren Buffett's rule. He invests in things he knows,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So invest in yourself, and then invest in things you know and or passionate about.
Yep. I've been trying to create this rule for myself because I am trying to get more into, like, I have the other like investment funds, but I am trying to like just kind of understand investment, like I guess actively.
Yeah.
So I have been like, if I have a bill, if I pay them on a monthly basis, I'm gonna buy stock in it. So like, and that's kind of like I have a PlayStation membership. I have Sony stock.
Yeah.
Duke Energy refuses to give me a break because I got electric heat.
Yeah.
So they just refuse to be nice to me.
Uh.
So I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy Duke Power stock.
Yeah.
AT&T every month, whether my Wi-Fi worked well or not. I gotta pay them every month. So I was
Yeah.
like, I might as well put money into it so they can improve.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like the
Well, so you can share in the growth of that company.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then also hopefully my internet will be better
Yeah.
because it gets spotty.
It's,
upset.
it's AT&T.
Hey, I
man.
thought you lived in a white neighborhood.
Bro, me too. Because it was like when we had first talked to them, they had advertised a lot better internet connection than what they ended up actually being available in our area.
Isn't that, up to
Yeah, and I was like, come
there's
on.
no evidence of widespread internet outages here.
Bro, and I'm just like, I should have just stuck. Spectrum is really good internet. Like as far as
It
home
is
internet,
terrible to
Listen,
deal
man,
with.
we
but good
bought
internet.
we
Yeah.
bought like a gig. I think it was supposed to be a gig, and there are times when we have like 60 megabytes per second. I'm like, this is so far off, and they're like, oh
Yeah.
well, it's up to a gig. I'm like, well, this is 60 meg. Like my
Yeah.
phone goes faster.
Well, it
than
should
this.
be close to a gig.
Yeah.
man.
to be honest.
Well,
Bro.
this is a peak hour. You know, there's a lot of people using.
This
it.
is
I'm like,
closer to zero than a gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spectrum, I don't know what they do, but it's like for a while, I think like my parents had realized like maybe in like 2012 that we still were technically under Roadrunner. Like it had been Roadrunner, Time Warner Cable, Spectrum, and it's like, but we were still paying Roadrunner. And so they were just spiking everything up until we just officially switched to Spectrum.
Yeah.
Then we're like, oh.
yeah.
So they're
That's
terrible
hilarious.
people, but great internet.
Well, you guys been going for 3 hours, so we got.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun.
Do you have any shows coming up or anything you want to throw out there to? People
January
look
16th, I'll be at Steamworks in Madison, North Carolina.
Hey.
Off the Cuff, people have been asking me about Off the Cuff, whether it's coming back or not, because we haven't uploaded in over a year. Off the Cuff is coming back in 2021, so be on the lookout for that.
Awesome.
But
What's
yeah,
your website for your business?
Oh, so our website is currently under development because we're redoing a lot of stuff,
Okay.
so don't go on there. It looks ugly.
Social media then.
Follow me, Guap with the UOP. I have, and also Insight Studios, that's my business. NSGHT, you know what I'm saying? No vowels.
Oh yeah.
That's that new age tech, baby. You know what I'm saying? We got rid of vowels. But yeah, Insight Studios, go follow us. We're going to be filling that up pretty soon. But yeah,
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. It's
I
been
appreciate
fun.
you having me.
Later, man.
If you guys enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Get a picture. Yeah, I did. I was like, oh, we in 3 hours.